Alright, what is going on YouTube? Liereyy versus Hera, the grand finals of Collection Cup over here. It is going to be a best of 7 in between these two beasts of Tempo Storm. We have seen quite a few Liereyy versus Hera showdowns recently. This is gonna be another one of those. You can actually take a look at the draft over here on this screen, but in between games we'll have a lot of time to evaluate things, so let's jump straight into the action with the live games. We're going to have Hera as blue Ethiopians on the left side. Right side, it is going to be green Chinese for Liereyy, so two very standard Arabia civilizations over here. But what I like about Chinese in this setup for Liereyy is that he's got a lot more versatility. The reason why Chinese is such a coveted and such a beloved Arabia civilization is because Chinese have one of the best diversity in the entire game. It's borderline unique. There is no other civilization that has a very strong economy, very strong archer play, very strong cavalry play, and also pretty easy tech switches due to the technologies being cheaper. Even without the cheaper technologies, Chinese would be an absolutely beastly civilization, but the combination of the fact that they have a strong economy, strong cavalry play, and strong archer play makes them very, very dangerous. On the other side, you have a much more limited capabilities civilization. So you have Ethiopians that is just so heavily focused on archers, and this is the reason why I actually like Lierey's Sif here a lot more. Lierey's got a lot more versatility. He has the chance to go for like a very skirmisher heavy play, and if he does that, then the Ethiopian player is gonna be in trouble because Ethiopians don't have a great answer to skirmishers, or at least not something that's very like general purpose. Obviously, you can go mangonels and later on even torsion engine onagers work nicely, but that's an expensive technology, it takes time to get to, and against a player like Liereyy who can just send in light cav to snipe onagers, that may not work either. So I think I like Lierey's civilization here a lot more. Keep in mind that Liereyy picked Aztecs and Chinese in the draft, and Hera decided to snipe Aztecs. If he snipes Chinese, this civilization for Liereyy would have been Aztecs here, so it's not like Hera could have done anything better over here. It's sort of a pick your poison type of a thing. Aztecs and Chinese both available to Liereyy means that he's gonna have at least one of these two beasts available for Arabia. He's gonna open with 3 on wood, which is going to be a scouts play from Liereyy. Scouts into probably skirmishers right away. For Liereyy makes some sense. Early scouts can pick off the archers quite nicely, and then you can follow it up with skirmisher play in this one. I think if Hera wants to win here, he needs to play a pretty aggressive game. Considering that we have Ethiopians with the ability to get free pikeman upgrade, and the fact that you could potentially beat your opponent to Castle Age, as we have a pre-mailed rush coming in here for Hera. If you can beat Liereyy to Castle Age and secure a forward position with a couple of crossbows, then I can see Pike and Siege being a unit composition that works. But I think that the longer this matchup goes, the worse it's gonna be for Hera because of his civilization deficit in this one. So it's gonna be a pre-mailed rush for Hera over here. Obviously 4 on wood for him. Let's look at the bases of the players real quick. Hera's got an okay-ish looking gold mine, but it depends on how he's planning to wall his base, if he's gonna wall at all. Stone mine is also looking pretty decent. Left side is relatively well wallable. The deer are pretty far out, which is not ideal for Hera over here. As the right side is also moderately open. Looking at Lierey's base, front berries is definitely not nice, but he's got safe huntables, close gold mine that's at the back, stone mine is also at the back, and overall this is a pretty well wallable base. Not a lot of safe wood lines available for Liereyy. That's something that's worth monitoring, that all his wood lines can easily be denied by crossbows. But for now, it looks like Liereyy is just gonna push in deer here. He actually managed to land a hit on Hera's scout as Hera was looking at the base of Liereyy. We already have the militias coming in, and since Liereyy is pushing deer, he's gonna have no idea that those militias are coming his way. And if you take a look at what Hera has scouted, this could be a very good rush from him. Oh, he didn't see the lumber camp. That's actually pretty important, because Hera doesn't know if the wood line is here or here. Reality is that both of them will actually be wood lines, as Liereyy clicks up really fast here. That's 21 villagers with Chinese, and only 25 seconds TCR time. That's a blazing fast feudal for Liereyy. Here comes the rush. And as I said, since Chinese have loom already, although Liereyy would have had loom with such an uptime with any civilization, But since Chinese have Loom from pretty early on, Drushes don't necessarily can kill a huge amount of villagers from them. It's more about the delay here for Hera, who could easily try going for a Drush fast castle here as the militias now arrive, and I don't think Liereyy was expecting this, because he definitely feels caught off guard by this one. Hera is gonna try to snipe that will, and that's gonna be successful. He's gonna eat some damage on his scout, but he has to be happy about what he accomplished here, as Liereyy turns back nicely, kills the scout. That was probably a little bit wasteful from Hera, but I mean, the value is massive here for our blue player. He was able to kill one villager, damage quite a few others, and forced Lierey's villagers off from the berries. That's the type of thing you want to achieve. And considering that Hera is still queuing up some more villas, it looks like he changed his mind. It seemed like this wanted to be a Drush-fast castle, because he had a couple more villagers in queue, but now it's going into a Drush Archer style scenario, because he's grabbing Loom over here, or he's just gonna queue up some more villas in here. He's gonna do quite a bit of a walling, will not wall to the edge of the map, which is a little bit wacky, and I'm not even sure when was the last time when I saw Hera walling this heavily, I'm not gonna lie. Like, these are some MBL level of walls. It kind of feels like Hera's a little bit scared of Liereyy. It feels awkward, but based on the map selections, like picking maps like Hideout when Hera is known for loving open maps, then going for such, I would borderline call it panic walls, because he's using 4 or 5 vills to make his walls. That feels very, very much like panic walls to me. Maybe he thought Lierey's gonna do something different, I don't know, as Liereyy retaliates for the earlier villager kill with a snipe over here. But 4 villagers on wood or on walls is actually very, very excessive. Like yesterday on Lily's stream, I actually submitted one of the recorded games I played with T-West in Empire Wars. And although it's Empire Wars and not random map, but still, Nilly has a channel pointing where you can actually get your recorded games reviewed, and I actually submitted a game there, and he said that 4 on Voz is actually quite a lot, and it's going to hurt your economy. So, you see, Hera's at 26 vills, this would be 27 had he not lost this one over here. That's a Drush-fast castle timing, but with these resources he's probably not going up to Castle Age anytime soon. It would be a miracle, I would say. Like, maybe if he sells his stone there is a hope, as the militias are going to find another opportunity to kill a villager, but the scouts are now here, so while they definitely did some harassment, they weren't able to get any more villager kills. Now Lear's got the scouts out, but those scouts won't accomplish much, since guess what, Hera is fully walled, and while Hera does have the extra resources from being Ethiopians, and he's able to get those resources upon hitting Feudal Age, as I said, he doesn't really have the wood to make the second building immediately, he doesn't really have the food to click up immediately, so he's gonna have to idle his DC here for some time if he wants to go up soon in this one. Liereyy also starts to wall himself in this one, and I think that Liereyy will just try to go straight into Castle Age from this one. He's got 12 farms, which is enough if you only made like 2 or 3 scouts. 12 farms start adding vills to gold, and I don't think that Hera's gonna be able to beat Liereyy to Castle Age by a massive margin here. It's gonna be like a 50 seconds, 1 minute-ish advantage, but I don't think that's gonna be that decisive in the favor of Hera. He has 1 range up, he's going to start pumping out archers, and he is about to click up right now. So far the TC idle time was pretty decent, only 3 seconds, but he needs to idle a couple more seconds over here in this one. Still, despite the circumstances, this is a pretty clean build here from Hera. He lost the villager, but reacted nicely after. So, pretty clean so far as the archers are now popping out. And Liereyy is gonna go probably preemptive skirmishers here. As I said, the problem with Ethiopians here is that they're so one-dimensional that Liereyy knows exactly what Hera's gonna do. This is a Drush-fast castle into crossbowmen. Even if Liereyy didn't anticipate it, he now sees the archer ranges and the archers coming out, so he knows it's double ranges. Because these archers had to be created a different archer range other than this one. So there has to be at least 1 more archer range here for Hera. So Liereyy knows that Hera is going to be at least 2 ranges in this one. And he's right. His response will probably be, as I said, trying to get to Castle Age over here. And indeed, his deficit is going to be around a minute or so. And then he's probably going to go for walls. and then elite skirm defense seems to be the case. So, he clicked up. It's actually going to be almost a 2 minutes deficit for Liereyy over here, but the reaction is very nice. He realized what Hera is doing, and he's doing exactly what he needs to counter that. Just try to go up to castle age as fast as possible, do some walls, maybe reinforce your walls with houses as well, that could help. So for example, drop a house behind this palisade, reinforce this with a second layer as well, then potentially reinforce this one with a second layer as well, just to make sure that those crossbows can't break into your base. Because if they break in there, you're in trouble. But if they don't, then Liereyy is gonna have a decisive lead, I would say. Remember that he has gotten Horsecolor and Double Bit Axe upon hitting Feudal Age, whereas Hera just now got Double Bit Axe, and Horsecolor is not there for him. So Hera's eco is going to be stretched out a lot more, and when you do this Drushfast Castle type of play, you have to do damage with your initial push here. So Liereyy keeps track of the crossbows, sees that they are just now coming out, and as I said, he's going to defend with Elite Skirms in this one, or at least it is gonna be elite skirms. I like how he already grabbed +1/+1. So technically speaking, 6 skirms with +1/+1 should be able to hold back 9 crossbows that do have Bodkin Arrow, but they should be able to hold them off to an extent where they at least cannot actually commit. I like how Liereyy is using his leftover scouts, immediately elite skirm coming in here for Liereyy, and as I said, Hera is really counting on these crossbows doing damage, and that's not really going to be the case, because Liereyy is able to get to Castle Age at a comparable time, grab a lead skirm, and now from this point on it's just going to be all the boom race, because Liereyy is going to have a much better economy here. He has had Horsecolor for a long time, Double Bit Axe for a lot longer than Hera did, and you already see the second TC coming up for Liereyy. Looks like Hera wants to loop around and hit the back of this wood line, but Liereyy probably knows that it is coming his way, so we're gonna have walls coming in, and also, as I said, the TC on the way. It's on stone, so we might see a work of Liereyy going for Chukonu quite early, because that's probably the best case scenario for him in the long run. Having Chukonu Siege Ram is something that would be really powerful here, but obviously depends on what unit composition Hera goes in the future. So you see Hera's farms are running out here. This is the problem with the Drushfast Castle. You really have to rely on that early group of crossbows doing damage. And Liereyy, he lost his scout over here, so he knows the crossbows are here. He is going to send the skirms in this direction. He also has +2 defense as well on those, so he really is committed towards going heavy on skirmishers. Now forward siege workshop coming in. Hera's gonna mix in a couple of knights, something that Liereyy is gonna spot. A reaction will probably be a fast monastery here from Liereyy. Until then, dealing with those knights is gonna be a little bit more challenging, and it looks like Liereyy might even abandon this forward position because of those knights. But remember, at this point, Liereyy doesn't need to do much. He just needs to sit back and chill, because he will be able to outboom his opponent here pretty heavily. In fact, there's already 3 villagers lead, plus Horsecolor in this one, as Hera's trying to drag those skirmishers close to that knight so the knight can actually deal with them. Knights are trickling in here for Hera. He's got +1 defense, and that's the only upgrade on those knights. Crossbows also commit against the elite skirms here, but I think Liereyy is taking a much better fight here. Sure, he's losing his skirmishers, but can these crossbows actually do damage here at Lierey's base? I don't think so. They will idle a couple of farmers, but that's all that they can accomplish. And behind this one, as I said, Lierey's economy is going to grow stronger and stronger. So the problem with these knights here right now is that they are sort of unable to help once the skirmishers will chill at the back of the wall, because that's exactly what Liereyy needs to go for now. Just skirms behind the wall, and he's gonna be all good. There's a mangonel garrison, in fact 2 mangonels, in that siege workshop, as that's a nice move from Hera, sniping the monk over here that was about to convert the knights. He's also dragging away the low HP knights so that he can ensure that it's not gonna get finished off by the skirmishers. And those 2 mangonels are just waiting for the opportunity to strike on top of those crossbows. 3rd TC coming in already for Liereyy, 2nd TC on the way for Hera, as he's sending in a couple of crossbows to the backs of wood lines. Remember that I did mention that The back of the wood lines for Liereyy are somewhat exposed, but if he just has a lead skirms round, that's gonna be perfectly fine for him. And Hera should not be able to get through his walls. Liereyy can play very, very defensive focused gameplay over here because his resources are so safe. And he's got the unit to counter those crossbows with, so he can just sit behind his walls and boom, pretty much. He already has been doing that for a while. 10 villagers lead already, as Wheelbarrow is coming in for both players. That could be another villager pick here for Hera, though. That was a nice one. Looks like Liereyy had thought that Hera's gonna leave, but that wasn't the case. So a villager gets picked off over there. The mangonels are still inside the siege workshop, and I think Liereyy is just waiting for the opportunity to move out here, which may have just arrived. And here, there is 2 knights from Hera, but no more coming as a reinforcement, which means that the skirmishers could once again take some good fights in here. And there is also 2 monks supporting. 2 more knights hit the field here for Hera, and it looks like the reinforcements of knights are once again starting to trickle in. Hera's also piling up a decent amount of resources. He's going for TC number 3. Keep in mind that he has 24 villagers on food for 2 TC, so he's able to stockpile a bunch of food. That could be extremely valuable because Hera could try beating Liereyy to Imp, and that changes things entirely. If Hera can go to Imperial early, beat Liereyy to it, and just go Arbalest, and then suddenly Liereyy is in serious trouble. Monastery coming in here for Hera to prevent conversions. Well, not prevent, but convert the knights back that were lost to conversions, and that is 2 conversions there for Liereyy in this fight. Absolutely amazing for Liereyy over there. Being able to convert 2 out of 4 knights is a dream scenario for Liereyy here, as now he's probably gonna poke around and force Hera back just to make sure that that siege workshop stays up. Behind this one, he already has a 10 villagers lead. Hera's even grabbing husbandry, so he really wants to focus that heavily on those Ethiopian knights, but this is what I was referring to. Ethiopians are a lot more one-dimensional than Chinese are, so sure you have the knights, but they're missing critical upgrades, like bloodlines, for example. And obviously those knights won't actually last long in Imperial, because you won't have plate barding on them, so yeah, it's a nice castle unit here, but it leads nowhere for Hera. That's the problem he's facing, as that's gonna be quite a few monks over here. Hera's gonna have to run, and he will be able to run away for the time being. Hera is now 3 TCs as well, but he's behind by 10 vills, starting to mine stone just now. Whereas for Liereyy, look at Lierey's resources. Liereyy is already getting prepared to go into Imperial with only 7 on gold, which is a little too few, but he has got 5 on stone, so I would assume that on this crucial hill in the middle of the map, a castle will soon be placed by whoever controls it in that moment. Currently it's Liereyy, so there's a chance we're gonna see a castle here by Liereyy. And look at this. Liereyy sent in a knight that he converted previously to just check out what Hera is doing. Hera tried to convert it, so Liereyy deleted it, but this was basically a kamikaze knight there, because Liereyy had to know what Hera is doing. He was doing this so that he gets some information, and he got some information. He sees that Hera has monks now, he sees that Hera is massing quite a few knights, he could check the upgrades on those, see that they have now +1/+1. As Liereyy clicks into Imperial, which will probably mean that we might see either a Cavalier or even an Arbalest switch over here. For now, it's just going to be Elite Skirm, but I think if you want to really capitalize on that Imp, then you have to go for Arbs, and that probably is going to be the case because Liereyy is dropping additional ranges. So far, it's only going for pure Elite Skirms, though, which raised the question of what exactly he's going to do against Knights, because now that's quite a few Knights, and with crossbow support and +2 defense, it's very unlikely that these skirmishers can do much, and the monks will just get picked off by the crossbows. So, Hera apparently takes control over this hill in the middle for now. Not enough stone for him to drop a castle there, though. And now Liereyy is going to be forcing Hera back from that position. Hera is just waiting right now so that he can get the +2 defense. Now Liereyy can afford a castle, as he's just now grabbing ballistics. Hera's still nowhere close to Imperial, and that's a bit of a miss-micro there from Liereyy. His mangonels were quite exposed, but it looks like Hera didn't want to dive in, and Liereyy got some good ground attacks in, so he actually managed to damage those knights quite heavily in this one. Now the mangonels are a little bit mispositioned, and the mangonels are actually Lierey's sort of, I'm not going to say counter unit to knights, but that probably is the idea here for Liereyy. Liereyy actually deletes a range here so that he has a bit more maneuverability with his skirmishers. He actually managed to get a couple of conversions, and as I said, he still is struggling to deal with the knights. This wasn't a good fight for him by any means. He had to delete the range so that he can maneuver his skirms. I'm not saying it was an horrendous fight, but it was far from being amazing for Liereyy, because he's just pure elite skirms right now. It's not like he can do much against knights. Maybe with imp upgrades, that could be a possibility with Bracer and Chemistry. Tumbling is also coming in for Liereyy. So he's grabbing all the upgrades for those skirmishers, but they are still skirmishers against knights. And that's a problem here for Liereyy. That's a serious problem, because Hera's gonna go for Light Cav here. Ethiopian Light Cav is far from amazing, in fact it's very underwhelming, but currently Liereyy is just skirmishers, and it looks like Liereyy is gonna be in trouble here. Now Hera could easily overcommit to this one, but I don't think this is an overcommitment. This is perfectly fine for Hera. With the stone count he has, the time has come for a castle drop, because he is just evaporating the army of Liereyy here. Hera can't last long here, being Castle Age versus Imperial, but he just destroyed Lierey's army, because Liereyy was pure skirms. And yeah, I was criticizing Ethiopian Knights, because they don't have a huge amount of amazing upgrades long term, but as I said, if Hera plays this one aggressively, then he's got a shot. And that's exactly what's happening. He's playing a pretty aggressive Castle Age here, because he realized that in Imperial, he's got no shot in terms of unit composition, whereas for Liereyy, he went to Imperial, but going for Imperial Age and then just going Elite Skirms is not something that's really promising. Like, you want a power unit when you go into Imperial, like Arbalest, for example. Now, Liereyy is trying to switch into that, but I feel like Hera now sees the blood in the water, and while Liereyy tried to drop a castle here, that's gonna be impossible. Hera already has a castle up here denying this gold mine. Mangonels are coming out to take down these ranges. Currently, Liereyy is struggling on every front. He's struggling with production, he's struggling with maintaining map control, and, like, look at this wood line. I think that tells a lot about how tough of a situation he's in. So, this is gonna buy a lot of time for Hera to find his way into Imperial, and that means that Hera's gonna be able to steamroll things with Arbalests now. Maybe if Liereyy switches to Arbalests before, so, like, he starts teching into that while going up to Imperial, things could have been different, because 15 orbs here would have stopped the knights pretty easily, but without that, that wasn't really a possibility. Now, Hera has actually committed, pushing into this hole, but it looks like he's just gonna get cleaned up by elite skirms, as Hera is making his own elite skirms, but behind this one, Liereyy teching into cavalry, so a lot of mind games going on, and this is crucial. Hera has found these vills. Hera has realized that his opponent has barely any wood to work with. Look at this. This Light Cav knows everything. So now Hera just needs to send in like 3 knights over here, and Liereyy is gonna lose 15 vills. These vills have no chance of running back home in this one. Hera is just now clicking up to Imperial, taking into Elite Skirms, but as I said, Liereyy on the other hand is going Orbs and Light Cav. So, what is Hera up to? Apparently he hasn't found that wood line until now. Yes, as I said, he's sending knights in there, and while the unit composition may eventually become better for Liereyy, he's in a very, very rough spot in terms of like map control and resource safety. And as I said, Hera's going up to Imperial, so at this point, he is gonna have his shot at Elite Skirms or his own Arbs, and I think those Arbs would be very, very beneficial here. Looks like, as I said, Hera realized a little too late that he has an opportunity here to kill Vills, because Liereyy had the time to react to the TC and the Arbs. But sure, now Hera knows that Liereyy has to walk here for wood, and that is an extremely important piece of information for Hera, because it's telling him that, hey, Liereyy is struggling for wood here, and that's exactly what is the case. Now Liereyy is queuing up trebs already, so he's gonna have the Trebuchet War advantage in this one. Hera also goes for defensive castle. You see that he wants to play a long game. Defensive castle on this hill, defensive castle around here, pretty much just to make sure that Lierey's counterattack can't finish him off. Hera now taking this fight over here with the skirms, but those skirms only have +1 defense, so they're very underwhelming against Arbalests here. Ballistics is there for Hera, and he's actually doing a decent job microing this, so he's gonna take an acceptable fight, but this was far from perfect, because as I said, upgrades missing is actually something that hurts really badly for Hera here. I think Hera is probably gonna lose this forward position. In here, what he can hope for is that he can pull some Hera magic with late game raids, but it very much seems like we're going in for a long game here in the first one. Arbalests now marching around. Hera's gonna realize that there's a hole here, so he's gonna plug it in, and then the castle should be able to clean this up. the problem that Hera's gonna face is that Liereyy is already switching into cavalry, and soon Liereyy could have raids coming in, whereas Hera is not really close to that. Arbalest will find a couple of villas over here, as some of them go down to the castle. Indeed, Hera's gonna lose his castle over here, no surprise about that one. One thing that Hera would love to do probably is Torsion Engine Bombard Cannons, because that would be an amazing unit here for Hera against Arbalests and Skirmishers, and he does trap the army of Liereyy here, so he's gonna get a nice cleanup, even though the upgrades are still not in, but he's gonna have the numbers to make this one happen. Liereyy, on the other hand, he's coming forward, securing this ridge, and this ridge in the middle of the map could be vital. Hera is dropping siege workshops. I firmly believe he's doing that because he just wants to make sure it's harder for Liereyy to get a castle up on this hill. And having a siege workshop here definitely helps because it helps you pop out 1 or 2 mangonels to help with the defense of this hill, and just makes it harder for Liereyy to have a guaranteed castle spot here. Still, Liereyy is gonna get that castle up, and now Hera is being forced back quite heavily. He has the upgrades now, so he could take this fight. But as I said, I feel like he just feels to be one step behind compared to Liereyy in this game, as Liereyy is gonna take the hill here, take a decent fight, as our green player is already teching into light cavalry, having some population issues. Both players have a pretty massive villager count, 140 for Liereyy, 143 for Hera, and that makes it much harder for Liereyy to mix in the light cavalry he needs. Nonetheless, this forward position is now established for Liereyy, as Hera is switching back into Arbalest, it seems like, and Bombard Cannons as well. So it's gonna be Arbalest Bombard Cannon, which is a lethal composition to fight against. Arbalests will eat any cavalry, and then Bombard Cannons will take down the skirmishers, especially if Torsion Engines is in for Hera. But he's gonna need some time until he establishes this one, and I'm not really sure how much time Hera has left here, honestly. He's 57 to 12 army here. So Liereyy, his army currently is much more massive, and as I said, with light cavalry now coming in, Hera's gonna have problems defending his own eco, and that's where things start to get rough. In fact, he's 160 population against 195. Liereyy also has a pretty considerable resource bank. Hera is also floating almost 3,000 food over here, but it is the lack of production that he is struggling with. You see that he's got 6 skirms queued up over here. He's trying to get production up as fast as possible, but that takes some time, and that time is something that he currently doesn't really have, to be honest, because as you see, Lierey's light cav are now moving in, and they're already coming in for raids. They don't have to be super efficient with the raiding. All they have to accomplish is just make sure Hera doesn't have a chance to crawl back in this game, and with the traps shutting this castle on north, it seems like Hera is about to lose this position as well, because I don't think that he can keep this castle up for long. He's now selling food for a bit of a gold, as Bombard Cannons, Rams, and Arbalests are still popping out alongside a couple of skirmishers. But now Lierey's got light cavalry. Hera is very heavy on stone mining, and he's probably buying stone as well at some point to keep that castle alive. But now Hera is pretty much out of stone, and that castle will probably soon fall. The mixture of Arbalests and light cav over here is probably going to be slightly better than what Hera has as unit comp right now. And the light cav, if they can snipe the Bombard Cannons, then that's a massive win for Liereyy there. Bombard Cannons still getting some good shots in on those Arbalests, so Liereyy is going to be careful. But there's just too many skirms here for Hera to be able to deal with the light cavalry. Hera has 1 Arbalest, 12 skirmishers, and indeed, Hera taps out in what was a pretty weird game, I would say, because at some point it felt like Liereyy is gonna be in trouble because he went to Imperial and he just wanted to go for skirms. But after that, Hera was unable to finish the game right there, and Liereyy, given the chance that to go into Arbalest, he just went to Arbalest and light cavalry and snowballed the game before Hera had the time to react. What Hera didn't have here is really time. And the reason why he didn't have time is because his economy was much weaker, so he was delayed into Imperial. And the reason why his eco was so much weaker is because he went for a Droshfest Castle. I don't blame him for it. Droshfest Castle with Ethiopians is completely legit. And his Drosh did quite a lot of damage as well. His build was clean. The problem that he was facing is that he's up against Chinese that have a very, very strong economy, and against Liereyy, who realized what Hera is doing, going for the Droshfest Castle crossbowman, and he went preemptive skirms. So he wasn't able to stop the initial push of Hera, something that's vital in the case of Drush fast castles. Those initial crossbows have to do damage to compensate for the lack of economy you're gonna have in the upcoming 5, 6, 7, 10 minutes or so. I'm curious at the APM graph because this is a brutal APM graph. Look at this. It is peaking at 200 almost for Hera. Liereyy had, like, I'm not thinking that Dark Age is that relevant because you can just click on stuff quite fast. So I don't think that's actually the relevant one. These are more relevant peaks over here. So Lierey's got some very good APM stats over here. In fact, I'm curious about the average. Look at this. Average APM 99 for Hera, 94 for Liereyy. So both of them being very, very fast as players. So first game in the hands of Liereyy over here. Let's add a score to him. And he's gonna win with Chinese. And we also have Ethiopians gone for Hera. So next up is the first home map of Hera over here. Let's see what he chooses. I think that this is a fairly competitive game, so I don't think that he has to be scared from any map here. Hideout might be something that he might reserve for a later round in case you, I don't know, you get steam. Let's say if you get steamrolled on Atacama and you feel like you want to slow the game down, then going for Hideout could make some sense. So I would actually probably save it for later. So I would say Valley and Golden Swamp probably make more sense here for Hera. But that's just my thinking. So if it's Valley, it should be. Well, Hera's got a lot of options with Valley. He technically has Japanese available, he's got Khmer available, he can go something like Mayans, maybe even Vikings on that one. Even Lithuanians. Honestly, any of the civilizations for Hera are reasonable on Valley. Whereas for Liereyy, it's a little bit hard to say. Feels like it could be Tatars, but that's also sort of an unpredictable civilization selection so far for Liereyy. Let's see what map Hera ends up choosing. It looks like we're going to Hideout, so Hera wants to slow things down here a little bit. If it's Hideout, we have Khmer available for Hera. That's actually a very good civ there. Lithuanians could be a reasonable idea. He lost Britons to a snipe, which would have been a top-notch civ there. But my favorite for Hideout would be Teutons. That would be a very, very good civ pick for Hera. Probably even better than any other alternative. And on the other side, Malay is available. Celts are available. Those seem to be the two most reasonable civilizations, to be honest, but I kind of feel like this is going to be a Malay pick here from Liereyy, which raised the question of how do you counter Malay? And the answer is probably Teutons. What do Malay do against Teutons, really? Like, if you think about it, Malay are an archer civ with arbalests. So, Teutons, if they go onagers and redemption monks that pick off the bombard cannons, then that's definitely doable for Teutons. I don't think that Malay have good answers to Teutons here. Fast Airblast is absolutely still deadly, but that's not something that you can avoid. That's the thing, right? So you can't avoid your opponent being Malay. So the question becomes, what can you do to probably minimize the damage, or at least make sure that you have a good civilization matchup against it? I totally agree that Malay is one of the best civilizations there, and it's gonna be awfully hard to stop. But I think Teutons are capable of that. They have a strong economy. What Hera needs to be careful about and what Hera needs to know, or at least anticipate, is what Lierey's plan is. Because here it is essential. Malay live and die with their power spikes, so Liereyy is gonna play like that. If Liereyy beats Hera to Imperial, he's gonna shop with 15 Arbs and 3 Bombard Cannons and Hera is dead. On the other hand, if Hera can anticipate these, then he can react preemptively, and he's gonna have the tools to stop it. The problem with Teutons fighting Malay is that Teutons would actually need a lot of resources to tech into units that counter the Malay play. So if you think about it, if how do you stop Arbalest and Bombard Cannon push, you probably stop it with Onagers and Redemption Monks. But that is an extremely expensive unit composition for Hera if he actually goes for that. So that is why it's a little bit dicey, and I probably favor melee early game. If we go post Imperial, it could be Teutons, but Liereyy is a completely different idea here. Looks like we're not going melee, which is a little bit puzzling. I mean, it's totally understandable if you go melee elsewhere, because some of these maps, like for example, Golden Swamp for harbors, could be a reasonable place for melee. But Celts is an interesting civ pick here for Liereyy as we jump into the second game. Welcome to Liereyy being green again, because I will just try to keep it consistent. So Hera's gonna play blue, Teutons on the south, and to the north it is going to be Celts in green for Liereyy, but I kind of feel like Celts is probably even worse than Malay here. I mean, what will Celts do? Celts eat TC, sure, but I mean, Teutons will just laugh at that with Redemption Monks. I really feel like, in terms of civilizations, Hera's got a massive one over here. I don't know what Lear's idea is here with Celts. I mean, Celts is a very good Habadi Onager or Habadi Ramsiv as well, but Teutons is one as well, and I just feel like Teutons give you a little bit more versatility. I don't think that Celts have anything that can actually deal with Teutons, and remember that Celts live and die with their siege in late game, so the Teuton Redemption Monks will just eat them. What will Celts do? Like, let's say you see 30 or Habadirs and then Siege Onagers for Liereyy. Hera's gonna go Redemption Monks that convert your Onagers. You go Void Raiders, Hera goes Teutonic Knights. Or Paladins, whatever. I don't think that Celts is a good matchup here, which is an awkward civ pick here from Liereyy because he probably anticipated Hera picking Teutons. It was fairly obvious that that's gonna be the civilization pick. So I feel like melee would have been a much better choice here. Now, obviously Liereyy has different plans for that, and I don't necessarily think that picking melee on Golden Swamp would be a bad idea either. I'm just saying that having melee here would have made the game relatively even in terms of civilizations. Having Celts here made the game very, very heavily shifted towards Hera in terms of civs. So, for the time being, we are gonna have Liereyy coming in with a deer push. He opened up the walls for that, so he's not gonna use a sheep to do it. Whereas on the other side, Hera is actually using his llamas, or in this case, a turkey, to keep the gate open and then push in the deer over here. Looking at the base of Hera, that's also pretty nice looking. The golden stone are oriented towards the right side, which is pretty important because if Liereyy is coming with an early Castle Age aggression, then it's gonna come from the left because this is the shorter path between the two players. The berries are perfectly L-shaped for Hera, which means he can drop a super efficient mill over here. And we're gonna have the first boar coming in here for Liereyy. Liereyy is only 3 on wood, but that's pretty common with Celts because you have the lumberjacking bonus, so we shouldn't actually jump to quick conclusions about that, whereas for Hera is playing good old-fashioned standard 4 on wood. Consider the extra armor. How would champion versus Void Raider end up? It should be least cost effective. I will think that if it ends up being a Void Raider situation, considering how close this map is, I think Teutonic Knights is a better choice for Hera. So yeah, obviously Void Raiders would have a lot more mobility, and that would be something that just makes Teutonic Knights completely useless on Arabia, for example, or other open maps. But on closed map, Teutonic Knights versus Void Raiders is probably a very, very good decision for the Teutonic player. So, looking at the neutral resources real quick over here, that seems to be fairly evenly balanced. So are the relics. 2 on the side of Liereyy, 2 on the side of Hera, and 1 sort of in between them. So, the map seems relatively even over here, as we're gonna have Liereyy dropping a house at some point to vote it off, but no, that's not the case. Liereyy only pushed in 2 deer, and now he's scouting his opponent. This might not be a fast castle from Liereyy. I think Liereyy may have realized that, oh shoot, okay, now he's dropping farms, so things are starting to be a little bit more puzzling. Because if this is a fast castle, then you need to push in the deer. And considering that the two players were actually playing, or at least Liereyy was playing pretty aggressive with the scouting. I thought that Liereyy just wants to go something like Men-at-Arms Towers with Celts. That could have been a solution to the Teutons problem. Men-at-Arms Towers, although then again, if it's towers, Teutons have better towers than you. So really, I just feel like Celts have nothing against Teutons here. So with 2 farms being dropped, Liereyy pretty much guaranteed to go fast castle. Whereas on the other side, we're gonna have a fast castle coming in here for Hera as well, though he hasn't dropped his farms just yet. So only 2 berries for Hera, that's not something unprecedented. He wants to consume the huntables first, and then when he starts running out of those, he's gonna send a couple more wheels to the berries. He just wants to make sure that he minimalizes the decay that these deer and the boars suffer from, basically. So, as things stand, no one is clicking up to feudal, which seals the deal. We're not going to see feudal aggression. This is gonna be double fast castle play in this one. So, what else are we having over here? Hera is pretty low on wood right now. In fact, he's just now sending the next villager to wood at 22, which feels quite late for a standard fast castle build order, if it's like a 24 plus 2. This makes me believe that this might be a slightly later fast castle, maybe 25, 26 even, plus 2. In this one, here come the 2 farms for Hera. Make it even 4, and it raises some questions. Could this possibly be a fast imp from Hera? It would be a very awkward build and I wouldn't support that, but it's a little bit awkward for a fast castle strategy. Looks like it's not gonna be the case though, but in that situation I'm not 100% sure why he dropped the farms this late. He could have done it a little bit earlier before. Nonetheless, it looks like it's gonna be a fast castle, something super wacky. In this one, 4 farms feel a little too excessive, although you got the Teuton discount on them, so it's probably not as bad as it could possibly be. Like, 3 Teuton farms are the same as 2 farms for other civilizations, so 4 feels like a little too much here for Hera. But anyways, he's gonna have a 25 plus 2, so he's gonna have a slightly cleaner economy, not as tight as it could possibly be. And a barracks as well, so he's gonna end up going for a stable blacksmith. And we're going to see scouts. I like the scouts play here from Hera, and the reason why I do is because I believe that if Liereyy wants to come forward with a villager and maybe go sort of a Huang style push, so Knights and Siege or something like that, or maybe even Pike and Siege, or the Redemption Monks could stop that, Hera might actually be tempted to just go for scouts and say, okay, I'm just gonna make sure that we don't even have a forward base coming up in my face. We have Liereyy coming up at 26 vills. That's pretty late for a civilization that has such a good eco bonus as Celts. So I'm wondering what Liereyy has on his mind, because you see that he definitely has the resources to click up into Castle Age immediately. In fact, he's got a huge amount of resources in the bank. I am not saying Liereyy is making a mistake here, it's more like he's gonna have something on his mind. Maybe he's gonna go range and blacksmith and go with the archers and crossbows. That's exactly what he thinks he's gonna do. And it's probably a better thing to do if you think about that. Normally, this time around, the siege pushes of Celts are usually done with knights, because knights is the are the power units that will give you a chance to gain map control. But against Teutons that have a so obvious monk play, when you go for knights, it's probably better to go for crossbows. And that is exactly what we're going to see here for Liereyy. That explains why he's going up at 26 plus 1 plus loom, because his eco is going to be much more tight if he's only using, 24 vills and he still wants to pump out archers. This is going to be a much cleaner economy for Liereyy now that he's 27 vills going up to Castle Age, and it makes it much easier to pump out archers over here. Anyways, for Hera, he's getting a couple of scouts out right now. He has grabbed Bidax and Horsecolor for himself, and it very much seems like we're going to see him drop 2 TCs upon hitting Castle Age. Probably one around here on the gold, one somewhere around the stone mine could make sense. Maybe over here even, although that lumber camp would pretty much interfere with that. So Hera might end up going for a TC here instead. And yeah, that's probably gonna be the TC spot for Hera there. But anyways, that's probably gonna be a free TC boom from Hera, and this is why I said that Liereyy might actually be tempted to play this one aggressively. 2 forward villagers, spearmen, and archers coming out here. The only purpose of having the archers is to prevent your opponent from having redemption monks here that can just convert your siege weapons. So archers can pick it off. Let's see if Hera's gonna spot this forward, because that's the reason why he started making scouts, and it seems like he isn't spotting it. Hera isn't spotting this, and this could be pretty massive in that case. Look at those sneaking in the shadows. I mean, now that Hera sees Liereyy in Castle Agent, he also sees that this is a 27 villagers timing. He's probably looking for a forward, and now he's gonna scout it. So he knows exactly this coming, and let's see the reaction. He's starting to make knights, and he's probably gonna start dropping a defense siege workshop for now. But Monastery could also make some sense for him. Behind this one, he's gonna be 3 TCs, whereas Liereyy is only 1 TC for the time being. So Liereyy is going for a super aggressive, I would say borderline all-in here in Castle Age. Because, really, if this push doesn't actually do damage to Hera, Hera's just gonna outboom Liereyy here really badly. And I honestly don't think that this is gonna do a lot of damage to Hera. If you think about it, Hera's already 3 TCs. He's got 2 turn TCs, so he can garrison 25 villas inside instead of 10. Which makes it even better, even if, I don't know, you know, a couple of crossbows break in and you suddenly have to jump into a TC with a bunch of villas. The additional protection helps quite a bit. You already have the house walls up on the right side. Knights are coming in. I just don't think that Liereyy has the chance to do damage here. Maybe if it goes unscouted, there could have been a chance. But without that, I just don't think that's the case. Although we have seen Celts eating TCs before, let's see if that is going to be the case here for Liereyy. First Mangonel pops out. Hera's got a defensive Mangonel though. So really, Hera doesn't have to be very aggressive here. In fact, Hera can just sit back behind his walls and just chill. Because I don't think that Liereyy should be able to do any kind of damage here. He's going to try to bash through these walls over here, further away from the Mangonels. But what Hera's going to do is jump out with this Mangonel on this side and move here. Or the alternative is that he's going to jump out on this side and take a shot on the Mangonel of the opponent. For now, he is distracting Liereyy, and indeed, while Liereyy is distracted, he pops out the Mangonel. That was beautifully done. He wanted to make sure that Lierey's scout is far apart. He wanted to make sure that Liereyy is microing somewhere else, and that's why he jumped out with the Mangonel at that time. It is going to be the scouts going down. More crossbows coming in as Liereyy brings in a second Mangonel to attack. No connection just yet on that shot, as Hera's gonna get a valuable villager pick here as well, and the other villager is also pretty weak. Losing the repair villagers would be a disaster here for Liereyy, because sure, he can send more, but that's going to delay his push, and the longer this push is delayed, the worse it's gonna be for Liereyy, because he's already behind by 12 villagers, and the deficit is just growing and growing. 3 TCs boom for Hera, and I would say borderline untouched, because really, he's not suffering from a massive amount of aggression. Like, he's got some Mangonels pushing him, but this is not something that's actually threatening his eco currently. Liereyy is going to eat a big Mangonel shot. He actually survives with 1 HP, as Hera now pops out with a Mangonel. Nice micro there from both sides. Hera goes for the delete trick and ends up being 1-for-1 in that Mangonel fight. Currently, Hera just wants to make sure that that siege workshop stays up. That's why he has a repair villager at the back. This is what Liereyy is going for. Nice ground attack attempt there by Hera, as Liereyy would try to make sure that that siege workshop cannot be repaired any longer. That's why the crossbows are there. Behind this one, Hera is messing knights as well, so he probably wants to jump on those Mangonels if the opportunity arises. As Hera's Mangonels are now popping out, he wants to get the third one out before the siege workshop goes down, so that he can maybe hold it with that, and that's a 1-for-1. Now, the pikemen or spearmen will eat a big Mangonel shot here as well, and with repairs in, Hera's gonna be able to keep that siege workshop up, and I'm trying not to call games too early, but I'm not gonna lie, this game might just be over. It's 56 vills versus 39, and currently I struggle to see how Liereyy could do damage here on Hera that compensates for the fact that, you know, he's already behind by a significant number of villagers. Hera now going for stone here, so we might see additional town centers being dropped on the outside, or maybe even a defensive castle. Another decent shot here from Hera as Liereyy is trying to prevent the repairs from happening. Beautiful 1-for-0 there for our blue player. And that makes it even harder for Liereyy to push. Hera's taking such good engagements. Look at that. 10 kills, 3 losses. That is nothing to be ashamed of. Still, the pressure is kept being applied. Hera's now gonna go for multiple stables. He just wants to patiently wait for his knights, get at least one defense upgrade in, and then jump on this force, destroy it as it is, and then just boom away with this one. Liereyy is still 1 TC behind this one, so his economy isn't amazing, and it starts to show in the score. It is not gonna be a complete mangonel snap, but here, now the knights dive in. The crossbows do have botkin arrow and the knights have 0 armor upgrades, but at this point, the mobility of the knights and the fact that the crossbows don't have ballistics will still mean that Hera can just snipe those mangonels. And now Pikeman is chasing. I think Hera can turn back and jump it. That's actually indeed the case. And now that the mangonel pops out, I think Hera might be going for that repairville. Nice 1-for-0 there, by the way, from Liereyy this time. As the crossbows keep chasing the knights, Hera already brings in a second mangonel. 69 vills versus 43, and the deficit just keeps growing and growing. Hera interestingly goes for the attack upgrades first and not the defense upgrades. So he really just wants to swoop in, snipe a mangonel, and just dive out. He doesn't even want that arrow fire resistance on his knights. It's all about diving in, doing as much damage as you can, and then just leaving the party before it gets too hot. And now Hera comes in with the knights. There is quite a few pikemen over here, but the pikemen don't have any upgrades on them. The crossbows go down, and in even numbers the knights will eat the pikemen. I think Liereyy might tap out after this one, because he should know. He should know exactly that Hera's got the eco advantage, and this push is destined to fall, as Hera's going to take game number 2 over here, equaling out the series. I feel like this was a bit of a civ win here for Hera, but yeah, he was just better prepared for this map, I believe, because Lierey's civilization selection was wacky, somewhat questionable at minimum, because he had melee available, and while I can believe if he had different plans for that, I just feel like you can't really bring in Teutons or Celts against Teutons on Hideout, because exactly what you have seen is gonna happen. Teutons can just turtle down, boom behind this one very nicely. We haven't seen a single Monk from Hera, but Monk defense could also have been a thing. Still beautiful defense from Hera as he snags game number 2 over here. Celts will be a defeat for Liereyy, and Hera's gonna take the second game using Teutons in this one, which will push us to the home map of wait a second, something is wrong. Something is wrong with the overlay. Okay, that's good. And now we're gonna have Hideout coming in as a win for Hera. So, 2 games done. As now we're moving to the first home map of Liereyy. Considering that he got kind of destroyed here on a closed map, I would think that we're now going for a very open map. So Serengeti or Atacama could be the candidates for that. They are setting up the next game just now, as we're gonna jump into the next game over here, which is drum rolls, Atacama. Okay, so if we are going to Atacama in terms of civilizations, what do we have? It's probably gonna be Franks or Magyars for Liereyy. I would bet on Magyars because Atacama is a little bit more aggressive than Serengeti, and Magyars is the definition of an aggressive civilization, whereas on the other side for Serengeti, that feels more like a little bit of a slower paced map. It's still more fast paced than the Arabia games usually, But I think Franks for Serengeti could make some sense, or maybe even Tatars, and Atacama could be Magyars. Whereas on the other side, for Hera, that's a bit of a question mark, but I think Lithuanians feels like a reasonable candidate. What else could you go for? You can maybe go for Japanese, but I don't think that that's going to be used here by Hera because it's probably for Mediterranean. Vikings is still available for Hera, and I'm starting to feel like Vikings will end up going for Golden Swamp, which would leave Mayans for Serengeti, or something like Khmer for Serengeti and the Valley for Mayans. I think it's gonna come down to Khmer or Lithuanians for Hera. I think on Atacama you might prefer Khmer when it comes to protecting your villas, and you might prefer Lithuanians when it comes to being aggressive. It could be either, to be honest. It depends on which you prioritize. Both of them have a strong eco, but Khmer allows you to protect your villagers on the wood line much easier with the houses. Lithuanians allow you to beat your opponent to feudal age and play a very aggressive game. Both of those could be a game plan for Hera here, and obviously the other civilization is gonna go for Serengeti in this one. Yeah, that's also an option. Japanese for cheap lumber camp and Lithuanian for Medi. Strictly speaking, Japanese could be a valley civ as well, because they got the cheap mills, they can open men at arms and secure the middle and take the hunt. So Hera's got a lot of diversity with his civilizations. It's very hard to predict where those will go because many of his civs are suitable for at least 2 or 3 maps here. As we jump into the next game, it is Atacama, and it looks like Hera's gonna go for probably the most straightforward civ pick of all, which is Khmer. So Khmer for Hera on the right side in blue, left side is Magyars for Liereyy in green. No surprise, I would say, in this one. Let's take a look at the maps real quick. Bears are actually pretty safe here for Liereyy, but the golds are not super safe. Obviously, that's a secondary thing on a map that is so heavily focused on scout wars. One thing that I would like to highlight is that it's not impossible for Liereyy to wall off like one of his wood lines over here. If he makes a lumber camp here, this is a pretty easy wall off here, given Atacama terms at least. Same thing on the other side. So the way that these neutral resources or neutral wood lines, the stone piles align, you can actually wall like this area pretty easily. And that would secure you quite a bit of a space and would secure quite a bit of a wood as well. On the other side for Hera, he's got a pretty decent wood line close to him, but his right side is very much open, so protecting that is gonna be pretty challenging. Hera is playing this one with the civilization that I myself would have picked for this one, so I really can see what he's envisioning over here. His core idea is that his villagers should be impossible to kill because there's always going to be a house close by to jump into it, and that should prevent Liereyy from killing his villas. On the other hand, for Liereyy, there's a lot of things to love about Magyars, because while they're primarily a scout civilization, they can open men-at-arms. I'm not 100% sure if opening men-at-arms here would make a lot of sense, because Khmer, as I said, are good at early defending. You're unlikely to kill a lot of villagers, and Magyar's men-at-arms is much heavier on your eco than scouts are. So Magyar scouts might actually be better here for Liereyy, and he's got free on wood, so indeed that's going to be a scout's play. Same thing for Hera, free on wood as well for him. And then that means that we're going to have a civilization that has stronger scouts at the beginning and the discount as well on their price. Whereas on the other side, you have a civilization that is extremely strong and oh, look at this! That was removed, Hera. That's not a feature anymore. That's... Wait. Is it? Didn't they actually remove this? I thought they did. Straggler tree, like, in general, the idea is that you can actually replace a straggler tree with palisade foundations. Oh, it's only if you start building. I see. I see. So I was right about then. Because basically Hera had to delete that straggler tree. The reason why he had to delete it probably is because that was disrupting his deer push heavily. He probably had hard time accessing these deers with multiple villagers. So he decided to just delete that from there. But you see that he first placed the foundation and he then cancelled it. And was like, Can I delete stragglers no longer? But no, you have to start building it to be able to do that. So, we're gonna have Hera coming in here with the second board. So far, he's been pushing in the ear, and since he's so heavy on hunt, it is almost guaranteed to make him able to go for a pretty fast feudal, especially because it doesn't need to make a barracks whatsoever. So we could see him with like a 19 pop feudal pretty easily here. In fact, it could have been 18, maybe even. It would have been a little bit closer, but 19 should be doable. It looks like he's gonna go for 20 pop, which just means that he's gonna have a stronger economy reaching feudal. Liereyy is going for a 19 pop here. That's pretty tight with Magyars, but he also pushed in quite a lot of deer. Will he be able to get it though? Yes, he will. So only 4 seconds of T-Sat, and that's a pretty clean build from Liereyy there. Still pushing into deer, and that is gonna be a 19 pop Scouts build. Whereas for Hera, this is a 20 pop feudal over here, and these wheels, what are these wheels going for? They're going for a second wood line over here, apparently, so Hera would like to spread his wood lines out, something I appreciate, because Liereyy often goes for towers on Atacama. If he feels like his opponent is playing very defensive, Liereyy is gonna go for a tower on your wood line, so having 2 of those is actually pretty valuable. In this one, Hera on the way towards Feudal Age, so is Liereyy, already dropping the barracks. Now, here's where things get interesting for Khmer. Khmer don't need the barracks to make the stable. But that also means that if you don't make the barracks, you won't actually have spearmen. And the reason why spearmen are so valuable here is because they actually swing battles of scouts. So scout wars are never just scouts, it's always scouts and spearmen. And the lack of spearmen is something that could hurt for Khmer, but this is exactly the reason why Khmer is such a creative, wonderful civ pick on Atacama. One of the reasons why I love this civilization for this map. So if I would ever have to play Atacama, I would always play Khmer. Because, especially at lower elo, being able to jump into houses can be life-saving, but also at higher elo, as you see. There's a lot to love about this one. Whatever pressure comes this way, Hera can just jump into the houses and he's not gonna lose Veils. He also doesn't need gates or anything here, because he can just jump into the house from one side, jump out on the other if he needs to add more villagers on the wood line. So, stable directly coming in here for Hera, whereas for Liereyy, he's already popping out scouts. And speaking of Hera, it looks like he might have found an isolated villager here. It's gonna be pretty close. I don't think that he can get this Veil. Or at least, only if Liereyy is unable to quick wall, and he actually gets that Veil. That was a beautiful one from Hera. I think if Liereyy just stands and fights with 2 Veils, he could have actually survived, because I don't think that Hera had enough HP to fight 2 Veils there. But now that is 1 villager down from Liereyy over there, and that is a pretty decent start. On the other hand, Hera already has scouts out, but what can Liereyy do with his own? That's the main question here for Liereyy. What is Liereyy going to do with his scouts? Hera's walled on the berries, Hera's walled on the wood lines. There is basically 0 chance for Liereyy to do damage with his own scouts. The best thing he might be able to do is just sort of match the scout numbers of Hera, just to make sure Hera cannot pressure his wood line. Liereyy, by the way, actually has 1 wood line in the middle, and that is apparently it. He's getting 8, or he has 8 villagers on wood, but most of that is on stragglers, so it looks like Liereyy is gonna have a very underpopulated wood line over there, whereas for Hera he's playing good old-fashioned 10 on wood, just like normal scouts builds would. 9 on this wood line, and there is 1 on straggler, I believe. So for now, it looks like Hera's just gonna play defensive and boom, which is probably what Khmer want to do. Just make sure that they can capitalize on their eco lead, because Magyars have to focus on using their own power spikes. Whereas this is not something that Liereyy was able to do so far. They couldn't use the Feudal Age power spike here with the stronger scouts, and I would expect something very similar in the case of the Castle Age power spike as well, with the +2 attack on the knights. Alright, looks like we're gonna have a range being added here by Hera. So he wants to add probably a couple of skirmishers because he wants to pick off spearmen. That's pretty common. He's not adding wheels to gold, so archers won't be a thing anytime soon, as Hera launches a counterattack here. Let's see what Liereyy can do to defend. Lierey's got villagers already being sent to Goldmine, and Liereyy himself is stacking into archers. Now keep in mind that Liereyy could switch to Cav archers anytime, a unit that would be pretty helpful on such an open and aggressive map, as Hera takes a pretty ugly fight here, I would say. That was a pretty bad fight for Hera over there. He was fighting against scouts that have better attack, so Lierey's got +1 and Hera doesn't. And there was also 2 spearmen in the party that also have +1. So that was a very underwhelming fight there for Hera, and he ended up losing the majority of his scouts. So now he is amassing scouts. Looks like he's not really doing anything with his archer range though right now. So I feel like Liereyy is slowly taking over here, because Lierey's gonna have the advantage of just running around with the scouts. And remember, Hera doesn't have spearmen, so Hera needs to have his own scouts over here to take that fight, but those are worse than the ones from Liereyy. Plus, they're also more expensive because Lierey's got a discount on his own scouts. On the other hand, Hera's economy is much stronger. He's got Double Bit Axe and Horse Color. He's got 18, 19 farms already up, whereas for Liereyy it's only 10. So Hera's food eco in the long run is going to be much, much better. Liereyy, he's going to have to do some damage, but that some damage could arrive right now. As I said, archers and spearmen are in there as well. Hera's going to have to start making skirms to deal with these, but that's not really going to help out a lot initially either, because these scouts can just simply pick off the skirmishers. So I feel like Liereyy is now taking over in terms of unit comp, and the archers could easily prevent a defensive wall here. Sure, Hera could jump into the house, but jumping into the house is a temporary solution. It's something that helps, but you have to keep in mind that these villagers are still idle, so the fact that you can actually sort of force them to stay idle is already pretty massive. It's gonna cripple the wood economy of Hera. Looks like Liereyy is gonna commit to this fight, and that might have been a little bit premature, because now Hera's gonna be more than happy to take that. Villagers also join the party as the archers and spears arrive. This was a good fight for Hera, but you also have to consider the efficiency. Although Lierey's eco efficiency isn't that great either, so I guess Hera is still in an alright spot. Archer's now moving to the other wood line, same thing is gonna happen over here. The best thing that Liereyy could do, I believe, is tower this wood line. That would be a good choice. Because, yeah, Hera can just move to another one, and Hera can just jump into houses against the archers, but it could be more about denying resources rather than actually killing vills here for Liereyy, because he could easily deny wood from his opponent, as Hera comes in with a trap attempt, but this lady that was derping out messes the plan up. Hera tried to trap those archers in there and then just fight them with vills, but that wasn't a possibility, and the problem that Hera is facing is that he's going to struggle for wood. And when the farms start running out, and you see that many of these are actually getting close, being unable to reseed those farms will have serious consequences on the economy of Hera, and you see that Hera's really starving for wood here, because Liereyy just doesn't allow him to get any kind of wood income. This is why I said that a tower here would be so valuable, because this would deny Hera's wood line here, and then the archers could focus the other one. Still, Hera has barely any wood income, and he has to send villagers to this wood line over here to compensate, but that already is sort of a bad sign for him. And also, this house is slowly going down, so you gotta be careful with that as well if you are Hera, because once it goes down to a very low HP, then the villagers will just be evacuated, and they will probably fall to the scouts. Looks like they will jump into the other house over here for the time being. But as I said, I think that the damage that Liereyy is doing is not going to have its effect right now. It's going to have its effect in the next 3 or 4 minutes. You see, the worker efficiency is much better for Liereyy than it is for Hera. Now, Liereyy, it looks like he's going to have to take a fight here. Hera is going to decide on jumping on this army. I'm not really sure if this is the thing to do here for Hera, though, because, yeah, he has +1/+1, but Lierey's got bloodlines. So this is not a good enough fight here for Hera, I believe. Sure, he cleans it up, but was this enough for Hera? And as I said, he is going to have problems soon, because a lot of farms are about to run out, as Liereyy himself is massing archers. I think Liereyy needs a market and potentially buy himself up to Castle Age, or spend the resources to scouts, archers, whatever, But whatever happens, Liereyy is floating a lot of resources, whereas Hera isn't, and that's where Hera could start becoming dangerous. Because Hera could easily flood Liereyy with units here, just because Liereyy doesn't have additional production. Looks like Liereyy wants to go into castle though, so clock starts to tick very heavily here for Hera to do damage. And guess what? As I said, these farms are running out, and you see Hera's wood bank, and you're going to see that many of these farms will be impossible to reach. It looks like Hera wants to go full feudal though. 3 stables full feudal from Hera. Really aggressive, but I feel like if Liereyy just walls himself, and he isn't far away from being walled, let's be honest. He needs like a couple houses here or pal sides. And same thing on this side. You can relatively easily wall yourself off against the scouts. If Liereyy tanks this out until Castle Age, he wins the game. But that's gonna be a long 2 minutes into Castle because Hera's gonna flood you with scouts. We know how good he is at doing that, and he's not far away from picking up the Castle Age either. So, Hera for now, he's gonna pick up the Castle Age. He's going to be only 40 seconds behind, and remember, that's the power of Khmer farming in this one. So, for now, it's gonna be, as I said, Khmer farming harnessed, or at least until these farms start to run out, because Hera's wood income is still very underwhelming. He's also making defensive tower over here, so he's gonna play very army heavy in castle. Probably light cav as well. It's not just gonna be knights, it's gonna be light cavs. Quite a lot of them, in fact. Whereas for Liereyy, chances are we're going to see Magyar light cav as well from him, which would have the extra attack immediately. But he also wants to switch into crossbow, and probably even cav archer could be an idea for him. It's probably should be a slow switch into cav archer, not an immediate one. But I can see cav archer being a decent idea here for Liereyy. Liereyy has gotten +1 defense for his scouts as Hera is moving in. Hera now is with bloodlines, and Hera's got the better scout numbers. So it is 12 scouts versus 10. Liereyy was waiting for Castle Age because he was waiting for that extra attack to come in. That's why he was waiting in here. And now it's Botkin. Interesting that he hasn't queued up crossbow before Botkin. And Hera knows that he needs to fight this one. But still, Liereyy takes a pretty decent engagement here, I would say. And that should grind down Hera's army numbers quite considerably. The skirmishers are going down. And these will be now with Botkin arrows, soon crossbowmen as well. This is a good enough fight here for Liereyy to hold. Still, Hera's got a decent army over here in this one, and Hera's economy is gonna be stronger. Liereyy dropping a TC on this wood and the stone mine. There was an overchop here for Liereyy, but he fixed that quite swiftly, as Hera indeed is going for late cav and just goes for full triple stable knights. Because it's triple stable knights from Hera. Oh, what? Oh, Liereyy never started building that. Disaster. Absolute disaster for Liereyy. There was an overchop, but Liereyy never started building that. And that is because the light cav are now able to jump into the wood line. It is free in terms of villager KD, so it's not the end of the world for Liereyy, but definitely far from ideal. And I feel like Lierey's diversity in unit composition is bad right now. I mean, yeah, he's got crossbows, he's got knights, but Hera might be better off just going full knights from triple stables and then adding a forward siege workshop later for scorpions. I feel like Hera's focus on one unit is actually probably the better idea here, compared to Lierey's attempt to go for a much more diverse unit composition. So, knights are now moving in here from Hera. He's got +2 defense, +1 attack, pretty decent upgrades on those. He's playing 1 TC, whereas Liereyy is going for 2. So once again, it is going to be a bit of a eco advantage for Liereyy eventually. For now, the Khmer farmers make up for the fact that Hera is gonna fall behind in villager count, because Hera is gonna fall behind despite the fact that right now the villager count is even. Although it depends on how much damage these knights can do from Hera, because Hera is actually doing quite a bit of a raiding over here, and it looks like he's going to just do the typical Hera play of flooding light cavalry, and in this case a couple of knights as well, and just raiding your economy to death. So, For the time being, it looks like Hera was going up to now 6 villager kills. So that is the reason why he's still 3 villagers ahead, despite the fact that his opponent is on 2 TCs. And lack of mobility will soon start becoming a serious issue here for Liereyy. He's got the crossbows, but I mean, Magyar crossbows aren't really special. They don't have ballistics right now. You don't have anything meaningful for those crossbows, and I feel like Hera's triple stable knights play here is just something that gives you a lot more leverage, a lot more mobility, and something that just allows you to raid Lierey's economy to death. Hera is coming back into this one, not necessarily because, you know, Liereyy is playing bad. It's, I think, because Liereyy is doing a strategy that shouldn't be a thing. This map is all about mobility. I think foot archers are just not a thing for this one. Or at least, it's only a thing if you can beat your opponent to Castle Age, more precisely. Because if you can do that, then you can march forward, then you can force fights. But if you play archers versus such a knight's play, then you have to force fights, and you see the end result. Liereyy is just pretty much cornered within his own base, with knights running all around. Looks like Liereyy is gonna launch a counterattack, and he might find a couple of bill kills. But it's not gonna be a huge amount of vills killed here, whereas if you take a look at what Hera is doing to Liereyy now, he's just absolutely grinding down those crossbow numbers. We're gonna have a monastery coming in here for Liereyy for what is a very, very fast conversion on that knight. But Liereyy understands that this game might be over. Like, at this point, Hera even trapped the knight in here. I didn't even see this. But at this point, probably Liereyy starts to understand that, look, I'm up against Khmer that has a much better economy. I have just lost pretty much my last bits of cavalry, and Hera is just going for triple stable knights in this one. I'm just gonna double check to see if this is not a crash, but I don't think it's actually a crash. It seems to be a GG here from Liereyy. Hera, I think, just had a better game decision here. And in general, I think that the civilization for Hera is slightly better for this map. Looks like decision making is on the side of Hera today, or at least so far. So, after the first victory for Liereyy, which was a pretty swift and one-sided, well, it wasn't super one-sided, but it was somewhat one-sided in the favor of Liereyy. Now Hera doubles down with 2 wins. This time around, it is going to be on the home map of Liereyy over here. Hera's gonna lose Khmer in this one, and Liereyy is gonna lose Magyars. So, with that, we're jumping back into the lobby over here as... Oh yeah, we're back already. Perfect. So, now we have Hera with 1 score lead. Liereyy has 2 more home maps to work with, Serengeti and Mediterranean. One thing is sure, if Liereyy wants to win this set, he needs to steal a home map from Hera, right? Yeah, he needs to. Because even if he wins 2 of his own home maps, then he still needs to have a win on one of Hera's home maps. So Lierey's chance, or Lierey's requirement to win this set is now partially built upon the fact that he needs to steal a home map from his opponent. We'll see if that's going to be successful for him. For now, he's going to be selecting the next map over here. Let's see if it is Serengeti or Mediterranean. So at this point, I would say that for Liereyy, Mediterranean might work slightly better because he had a tough time here on this one. And this is a fairly open map. Serengeti would be somewhat similar in many ways. So it could make some sense to go for a little bit of a slower paced map, so to say, or a different approach. And that could be Mediterranean, as we are actually indeed going for Medi. The players are ready to launch the game, as water micro is something that Liereyy is very, very good at. Something that's really underappreciated is how good Lierey's water micro is. It's mostly underappreciated because Liereyy is just not really playing a lot of water maps. He likes to play land maps, but whenever Liereyy gets to a water map, he is still a very, very powerful player because his micro is so, so good. All right, so the game has launched. Let us go into the next game over here. It is Mediterranean. Liereyy needs this win, otherwise he's gonna fall behind by 2 games and it would push Hera to match point. Something that Liereyy doesn't really want over here, obviously. So, let us jump in here. Welcome to the next game over here as we are gonna have Hera playing as a blue Lithuanians on the right side. So it looks like he's gonna stick with Japanese for a later time. It seems like we might end up using Japanese on Veli in this case, which is a different approach from what we have seen in most cases by players. Lear is going to be playing green here. I'm going to set this color back to green from yellow just so it's consistent with the previous games. He's going to be playing the predictable Italians, his first overall pick in the draft. So I think that what I like about Hera's draft is once again that he can have a bunch of civilizations that are good for 2, 3, 4 maps, and that gives him insane variety and diversity. You see that it wasn't completely predictable that he's going Lithuanians here. In fact, Japanese would have been a completely reasonable choice here as well, and then go Lithuanians elsewhere. So the flexibility is on Hera's side in this one. Let's see what he has on his mind. He's probably going to go for a fast dock strategy here with Lithuanians, which is just the standard way of doing things. And in early feudal age fights, Lithuanians can still carve out an advantage just by being up to faster or up to feudal age faster. What you have to keep in mind is that in late game, these two civilizations have an interesting matchup. Lithuanians are heavy towards cavalry, and obviously the relic positions are something that benefits Hera quite heavily. 3 relics should be quite easily accessible, and the 4th one is possible for Hera to grab, maybe even a 5th one as well, if Liereyy isn't putting much of an emphasis on grabbing those. But one thing that we need to keep in mind here is that the Genoese crossbows would eat the Lithuanian cavalry, but Lithuanians do have skirmishers as a tool to deal with those. In exchange, Italians have bombard cannons to deal with skirmishers. So I kind of feel like this is one of those matchups where it depends on timings, it depends on how prepared a certain player is for the opponent's unit composition, but this could go either way when it comes to late game. For now, let's just look at the early game, as it looks like Hera is pushing in Deer. He still hasn't gotten the dock up, which is a little bit weird, because normally Lithuanians should be able to grab it by now. He's very, very fast on food. This raises the question of a couple of things. Maybe he wants to go for both land and water aggression, which would be really tight, but it could be possible with Lithuanians having the extra food, allowing them to allocate villagers elsewhere. There is the docking villager, but you see that this docking time is pretty much the same as the Italians' dock time. So I would say that this is a bit of an awkward build here by Hera. Lithuanians can do a much faster dock than this one. It kind of seems like Hera wants a super fast feudal though, and basically just click up using Hunt. He doesn't want to use Fishing Eco as a food source here in Dark Age. That's why he is so heavy on Hunt, and then he's gonna add Fishing Eco later. I think I've seen this build from someone yesterday. I don't remember who it was, or maybe it was 2 days ago. But basically go super fast feudal, even faster than you would with Dock, and indeed, that is a lightning fast 18 pop feudal for Hera. And then just go fire galleys. And the idea here is that the opponent is going to have a stronger economy, but he's going to be later to feudal age than you are, and you see that exactly that is what's happening. The reason behind that is because your opponent is spending more time with his villagers on wood, and it's going to take some time until the fishing ships pay for their price. So, especially considering that Lierey's dock here is very unfortunate, it's pretty much far away from all 3 of the closest deep fish sources. That's a very unlucky dock for Liereyy. So it's gonna take some time until these fire galleys pay for their price, and you see that that is exactly Hera's game plan. He wants to destroy the fishing eco before it starts becoming a factor. He wants to win water before even committing a single bit of wood on fishing ships. Interesting idea, and this is sort of a borderline meta breaker approach. Hera is not the first person to use this one, but definitely one of the people that I think has improved on it. Because I've seen this build before, but it wasn't the Lithuanians. And Lithuanians is definitely a good civilization for this one, considering that they get a bunch of extra food at the beginning. Mongols could be a good one as well, as you see that there's going to be a 1 minute advantage for Hera going into feudal age against Italians. And Italians also can click up quite fast. Hera, using the faster scout, also is able to yoink the scout of the opponent over there. So now Liereyy is clapped in the blind. He has no idea if there is any forwards coming. This is just so far perfect for Hera, really. Second dog coming in here for Liereyy, but you see that Hera is already going for fire galleys. Hera's eco here is going to be really tight. In fact, I'm not even sure how he's going to be able to afford producing vills. There is going to be some TC idle time eventually, because he only has 3 on wood, right, or 3 on food right now. But I guess he wants to win a quick battle here with the fire galleys, as those are already coming in. You see, Liereyy is going to have to evacuate his fishing eco, and he lost his scout already, so he has no idea whether or not there is a forward coming his way eventually. That could be a nice advantage for Hera as well, that he is going to be able to get a forward up if needed. And I like this combination. Look at this. If the villager escapes, then the scout is going to fight it. If it doesn't escape, then the fire galley is going to kill it. And the micro is very nice there from Hera. Although Liereyy, it looks like, turns back and fights it, that scout was just a little too weak to take this fight. Nonetheless, that villager is forced back, and I feel like Hera has already gotten a pretty decent value out of this one. TC idle time is actually noticeable here for Hera, as I expected, because he doesn't really have the food income right now to keep that TC working, and that's where this build starts to show its weaknesses. Third dog coming in already for Liereyy. Currently it's 4 fire galleys versus 2 though, and with the repair villager gone from this side and this villager building a dock, there is no repairs available for Liereyy either, which means that these fire galleys will be in considerable trouble. Another batch of fire galleys soon coming in here for both sides, as Hera now seems to stabilize economy-wise. He still has some herdables. Part of the reason why it's so helpful to push in the early on is because you can preserve your herdables for feudal, and then you still have the berries to work with, and even some deer to operate with. Currently, Lierey's fishing eco is pretty much idle, and it's about to be destroyed. Although I like how Liereyy has dragged away this fire galley from the fishing operation. Just sacrifice this one to allow this one to work for a little longer. Still, at this point, Liereyy is 5 fire galleys, and he has some demos in queue, whereas for Hera is 7 fire galleys, continuously popping out more. So, the key thing here for Liereyy is keeping those docks up. So, he has the time to mass his navy until this dock actually gets heavily damaged, but after that he's gonna have to unleash those. I like how Hera is splitting up his ships. That's actually very, very nice. Just ensuring that a single demo hit can't do much of a damage. Here come the fire galleys from the back, as Hera's going to move out with his own fire galleys. Demo comes in from Liereyy. Nice connection there for our green player. And this is what Liereyy has been waiting for. A big fight in the middle. Hera's got quite a lot of heavily damaged ships over here, but he's got a numbers advantage in exchange, so it looks like the fire galley fight once again will go slightly in the favor of our Lithuanian player, Hera, over here, as Liereyy will be forced to retreat. So far the KDs are pretty even, as Hera and Liereyy will both lose a ship over here, but as you see, Hera is the one that is capable of denying the fishing eco of the opponent, which means that Lierey's investment into fish is not something that is paying off. On the other hand, now Hera gets forced back, so you see that, well, this build definitely has its advantages. It seems like 3 docks production is not something that you can afford with such a thin economy, as Liereyy is also doing a much better job now preserving his low HP ships than Hera is doing so. So, looks like Liereyy, after that initial scare, is stabilizing in this one, and now it's 5 ships versus 5. Overall condition is slightly better for Hera's ships over here as things stand. Demo coming in though, and that could change things. That was a beautiful demo there by Liereyy, sinking one and damaging another one very, very heavily. Nice micro so far from our green player, as he is gonna force Hera back all the way to defend. Liereyy still has one fishing ship working, and that's not something that should be underestimated, but it looks like after that weird, I'm not going to say weird, it's more like a unique start from Hera, or sort of meta-breaking approach, things are stabilizing, and now we just have a standard fire galley war with no fishing ships basically on either side. Liereyy has one, but that is it. That's why he has a one villager lead over his opponent. Let's see what the next step is for the players though, because one thing that Liereyy hasn't, Hera does not, is a very good food eco. Lierey's got 14 on food. Most of that is berry villagers, but it is still a consistent food income for him, and Liereyy is getting closer to clicking up to Castle Age. Whereas for Hera, he's really nowhere close. And he doesn't have double bid axe right now. It looks like Hera's economy is very, very thinly stretched. You also see that his villagers are starting to move from stragglers to this wood line over here, so while Hera is busy microing his ships, it very much seems like his economy behind that one is not so clean. Worker efficiency is still pretty close for both players, as a demo gets taken down by a fire ship. Wasn't ideal there for Hera. Hera is still fighting for water here, but I feel like he is going to be in a tough spot soon, because Liereyy is about to click up to Castle Age here, whereas Hera is nowhere close, and a Castle Age here could easily snowball the game for Liereyy. I just feel like the problem is that this build is so tight for Hera that you're just not gonna have any economy in early to mid feudal age, whereas a player that goes for a much more balanced economy, like Liereyy, is able to pile up resources a little bit easier in feudal and potentially beat you to Castle Age. So it looks like Hera's aggression here wasn't able to do enough damage to compensate for that. He still is insisting on pumping out fire galleys, so he's not giving up just yet. That is a beautiful demo shot there from Liereyy. The KD is very, very even, but I feel like Liereyy has been taking better fights so far compared to his opponent. The demo is coming in here, and it actually had a narrow chance of sniping that repair villager. For now, it's going to connect quite inefficiently. That could be a nice connection. Hera gets a decent one over there, but it is now 4 fire galleys versus 4 as well from Hera's side. Overall condition is slightly favoring Hera right now, but as I said, Liereyy is working towards Castle Age, whereas his opponent is nowhere close. In fact, Liereyy has just now clicked up to Castle Age, and that should secure fire ship for him. I wonder if there is any land military buildings being added, and that's not the case. Neither of the players are adding any land army, and this is where things are getting rough for Hera. He's just not gonna have any tools to stop fire ships in Castle Age, and it's not like he's preparing something like a surprise aggression and just attack the base of the opponent or anything like that. There's just nothing that is going in the favor of Hera right now, so it's gonna be an uphill battle from this point, that's for sure. I am not even sure what Hera could do in this spot. I think this might be over if Liereyy reaches Castle Age, and Liereyy still has 3 docks to produce fire ships at. Now, Hera could try to be very aggressive and destroy those docks before Liereyy reaches Castle Age, and he has maybe the chance to do so. Another dock coming in here for Liereyy, as the demo for Hera will come in, and that's gonna sink that will. That's nice value there for Hera. There was the repair will initially. Meanwhile, we're gonna have fire galleys coming in here as well. Demo from Liereyy. This could be big. This could be a big demo, and it's not gonna connect. It looks like Liereyy is gonna disengage, but if he just deletes that, it would have sunk 3 ships, I believe. So now Liereyy is in Castle Age. Hera's working towards that, but this is the moment where I feel like once this upgrade comes in, War Galley, I don't think that there is any chance for Hera to swing this back in his favor, because the water is going to be too far gone by that time, and then Italia is going to easily add cheap fishing eco and just pretty much outboom their opponent from that point on. I think Liereyy needs to start walling if he wants to play for sure, because he should know that he's about to win water, which means that Hera's only chance here is if he can actually do damage on land. Because as you see, Hera's got no tools to fight this on water. He has the numbers advantage, but he's still going to lose this fight at the end, and he's gonna have no follow-up to this one. And now Hera's going Blacksmith, the Barracks. Yeah, this game is Omega over. I mean, Liereyy is light years ahead compared to Hera. He's already adding TC number 2. And in the moment he is able to secure some ground, you see 4 fishing ships queued up immediately by Liereyy. He knows exactly that Hera's got no chance of taking water back, and Hera probably will not even attempt to do so. As by the time Hera's eco has stabilized, it is just too late. You see that he's getting a stable up, and if Liereyy just stonewalls himself, he's got the game. He's not gonna do stonewalls, but he's gonna do palisades, and that's gonna be completely alright as well. He knows exactly that the only thing that Hera could do is just try to push on land, and from this point on, this just turns into a booming contest. I'm actually surprised that Hera hasn't resigned when Liereyy reached Castle Age, because I don't think that Hera's got a chance of regaining water. And now Hera starts going for scouts. Hera's eco, by the way, is pretty heavily unbalanced now that he's not making ships. He's got 600 gold being floated. But guess what? This is why you start rolling immediately after you see your opponent is about to lose water. Because if you do that, you can actually force your opponent to stay out of your walls. And if you don't start walling proactively, then your opponent is just going to surprise you with a couple of scouts, and then you could be in trouble. In the moment you see your opponent coming to the end of his career on water, you have to start walling yourself, and probably even reinforce those walls. Scouts are coming from this side. Hera's found some extra cows, which definitely helps. They're using the matchmaking Mediterranean, so there's extra herdables on this map, as the first dock from Hera does go down. Bloodlines coming in as well, and it will probably see double stable Knights play from Hera. But at this point, Lierey's economy is going to be light years ahead, and he's already mining stone, which means that Genoese crossbows are not a distant dream anymore. Obviously, he's far from a castle, and especially now that he's making a third TC, but it's not like it's a rush. In fact, at this point, Hera is trying to get up to Castle Age, and he's up. What exactly he's going to do, I have no idea. So, we are gonna have Liereyy finishing off the docks in the middle pond. Hera trying to get through the walls. He's gonna intercept the villager here, which is nice. And now he's gonna come up with a forward siege workshop, tries to build up his land eco. But I think the next step for Liereyy is indeed adding a couple of thousand stone walls. Defensive guard towers could be a thing here on the gold. Defensive castle would be better, but you can't really fit it here. So it might be a need for defensive guard towers. But for now, it's very, very likely that Liereyy will just outboom his opponent here by a massive margin. Look at this, 70 villas, 71 now, compared to 53. And if you look at those resources, I mean, Liereyy is not even impossibly far away from imping here. Forward Voyager was coming in, as Hera is trying to redock. I see, so Hera's not giving up on this one. That redocking is going to be a thing. Looks like that forward wall from Liereyy is about to die. The question is, did he discover these docks? And the answer is no. So Hera might have a shot at this. It's a big long shot right now. But Lierey's got 14 fishing ships. Sinking them would help quite a bit, equaling out the economies. And Liereyy does have a navy, but it's only 4 fire ships, 2 demos. So Hera with a strong push here on water, he could easily claim it now that Liereyy is not investing into water anymore. There is some monks coming in here for Liereyy, also making scouts, archers. I kind of feel like he's going for a massive mix of everything. But this is going to be eventually an Arbalest play from him. Arbalest and Bombardkin. He's already preparing to click into Imperial. As for now, the monks will be able to just scare away those knights and scouts. Nice attack there from Hera. Hits one monk over there. The other monk is also pretty weak. And now Liereyy has to relocate his gold mine. Things are heating up a little bit here for a green player. It's not that bad, and you see that there is going to be some scouts for Liereyy. The reason why he's making scouts is because he's anticipating Hera to mix in monks, which is not the case right now, but it might be the case later. Hera also dropping outposts on the right side to see what Liereyy is up to here on the right, as the fire ships start moving in. Lierey's fishing eco here is going to be exposed to that, and since he's distracted defending, He might not notice his fishing ships dying. Let's see if he realized that something weird is going on here. Because losing that fishing eco could be a disaster. Light cav upgrade coming in here for Liereyy. Since he had to go for so many upgrades, he is once again a little bit further away from Imperial. And looks like now Liereyy is going to have to start queuing up ships, but he's not doing it. Obviously, as we go forward in the game, the importance of water is going to shrink more and more, because you see that the pond is running out of fish at a quite rapid pace. But still, you have to consider that that's a significant part of Lierey's economy. Looks like Liereyy is giving up on water as it is. He feels like, okay, that fishing eco was fueling my economy until I couldn't get a free TC boom up, and that's actually the case indeed. It was enough food income to make sure that a free TC boom is going to be possible and viable for Liereyy here. Now Hera's got quite a few knights running around here, and I don't necessarily see the tools of Liereyy stopping those. There's a couple of crossbows around. The knights have bloodlines and +1 defense. The crossbows do have only fletching though, as the market is down from Liereyy. Could we see something very similar to what we have seen in the previous game, where Liereyy technically was ahead for a long time, but then suddenly Hera comes back with the raids? Because there's quite a lot of knights running around here, picking up more and more vills. Hera has killed 26 vills so far, Liereyy has killed none. On the other hand, that's probably the reason why Hera is not resigning yet, but Liereyy is still ahead quite massively. Still, Lierey's eco has taken a beating here, and this means that Hera is gonna have a chance to reboom, and I'm starting to feel like Lierey's boom here may not save him. Sure enough, he's got the economy, but it kind of feels like he's gonna have no defense against this push. He's getting sandwiched between two attacks from two directions. The knight from Liereyy trying to dive in to snipe the mangonel, but ends up getting deleted to prevent the conversion. Market coming in here for Liereyy. He's very close to dropping a castle as Liereyy brings out a knight to take down this mangonel. That was nice micro from him, as a monastery will need to be built here by Hera as well. Beautiful micro there from Liereyy, picking off two mangonels with one knight. But now it is this mangonel from Liereyy that gets picked off. That seemed like it was a converted mangonel because I don't see a siege workshop from Liereyy. So it may have been a converted mangonel after all. Monks are now coming in for Hera as well. Liereyy is going for the defensive cast on the right side as Hera is still behind by 20 vills or so. But look at this. The knights are rampaging the eco of Liereyy here, and Lierey's eco efficiency here is dropping quite dramatically. Hera's eco efficiency is quite bad as well, but these knights are starting to become a factor, and that's not something that should be overlooked. Hera is still at 69 vills, but his opponent is down to 81, so in quick, like 2 minutes or so time frame, Liereyy has lost a bunch of villagers. Now he's trying to get a castle up here. The castle... I mean, I think the castle would go up, but it would actually be at the cost of significant casualties for Hera here. He's about to push on the left side, and indeed that's redemption already for the monks of Liereyy. He's about to try and convert a couple more mangonels. Meanwhile, more villagers are going down, and it looks like this castle is not going up. Liereyy is in a serious trouble here. He lost his fishing eco, and is Hera gonna add some fish? Apparently not. Hera's playing with just one TC, just now adding the second one, and you see Liereyy wants this castle, but this is so far still for Liereyy. So far. Now the knights are trying to dive in. That may have been a little bit premature, and now there is a light calf here as well to deal with the mangonel, so it looks like Hera is gonna be able to save that mangonel for now. Although, is he? Nope, that's not the case. The mangonel is... it's not going down. It was close, but it's not going down. Still, Liereyy was able to keep his eco intact, and he's imping. But this game is no longer as decisively in his favor as it used to be, because the villager lead is now only 10. Sure, Hera's nowhere close, going into Imperial, but Liereyy here is getting sandwiched really heavily. So this is a tricky scenario for Liereyy to be in, because guess what? His economy is stronger, and he's actually going into Imperial. But he can't really move out of his base right now, as Liereyy gets a conversion on the mangonel, and then takes down Hera's mango here. Hera is also pretty heavy on stone, so I think he might be thinking about a castle on this hill, which would be a very, very good castle. Denying 2 gold mines would be pretty massive. Obviously, it would get threatened immediately by Liereyy, because Hera does not know that Liereyy is up to Imperial. Still, I think Hera's key here to win the game is just keep raiding with Knights. He needs to grab +2 defense, something that he already has, and just keep raiding with Knights, because that's the best way to force Liereyy to stay at home. That's it. Liereyy wants to move out with Arbalest and Bombard Cannons now to push Hera, because Hera is still in Castle Age, so an Arbalest and Bombard Cannon push would devastate Hera's eco. On the other hand, that's not going to be possible for Liereyy, as long as these Mangonels are harassing his base. Nice snipe over there from Liereyy on the Mangonel. Another castle comes in, Liereyy, which guarantees that Hera will no longer be able to put pressure on him, but now I think Hera is more than happy. Oh, wait a second. Wait, that had to be the delete trick. That had to be a delete trick. Indeed, look at this. Here comes the Mangonel, and this is not something that Liereyy was prepared for. If there is any reasons why he's gonna lose this game now, it's gonna be this Mangonel shot. That was brutal. That was a delete trick as well from Hera, and that just evaporated the army of Liereyy over there. And I think that this game would have been very open if Liereyy reaches Imperial with that group of Arbs. Now I'm feeling Hera all over the place, because Lierey's got very limited army. 5 crossbows, 2 spearmen, 1 light cav. Really, he's got no army. Whereas if you take a look at Hera, he's quietly massing knights, and obviously Italians can go Genoese crossbows, but that's not something that Liereyy is doing right now. So if there is no Genoese crossbows, then boom. Hera is just gonna steamroll you with knights. Liereyy wants to go back on water, but I don't think that's the good decision now, because Hera will just steamroll your economy with knights. Liereyy wants fast fires, as he's already attacking into that, tries to get a castle up. Hera is here with his fire ships to try and prevent that one from happening. He won't be able to deny the castle, nor will he be able to stop this redocking, but he is going to cause some damage on the villagers, harass them, make it take a little bit longer to make this castle and stuff like that, and that could be pretty massive, as Hera is just 1 minute away from Imperial, and looking at those resources at this pace, Hera is on course to being able to get pod in for himself, as he probably wants to continue with the water fighting as well. Lierey's economy is now once again massively ahead compared to Hera's one. 116 versus 88 villagers only. But keep in mind that Hera has all the map control in the world to pick up relics, and that is something that he should be doing. There is 1 relic over here, there is 1 relic over here, 1 over here, and 1 over here. We'll see how much Hera sees of those. It looks like he doesn't see the majority of them. But nonetheless, Hera should easily start picking up relics here, because that would be a very nice gold income for him. He's got the land map control for that. And more importantly, it would benefit his cavalry. The cavalry that he has been hiding for some time, as that is a beautiful find for Liereyy there. The lack of ballistics will hurt here for Liereyy, but he will still find a couple of vill kills. The first villager kills for him in this game. So far he lost 52 vills and only killed 4. All 4 of those were in this counter raid. Cavalier and plate barding is coming in though for that cavalry, and once again, if they start running into Lierey's base, Liereyy could be in trouble. Looks like we're gonna have a big naval fight in the middle, galleons on the way for Liereyy. Lithuanians don't really want to engage in prolonged naval combat versus Italians, but they can definitely hold their own for some time, as Hera is having a bit of an issue finding wood for himself. He's also selling stone pretty heavily, as he's gonna move in with the knights soon, but he needs some better numbers. He's managed to clean up the crossbows, and his docks are safe from the fire ships right now. He waits until the cavalier kick in, and then he's gonna start raiding. And this is what Liereyy is not gonna have an easy answer to. Or, well, he has an easy answer, namely Genoese crossbows, but we'll see if that's gonna be enough to stop these cavaliers raiding him. Still, I think that Hera needs to pick up relics over here, though it may not be the biggest priority, but he needs to utilize the land map control that he has right now. He also needs to grab fletching and botkin so he can outrange those galleons and prevent those docks from being taken down. And also needs to set his rally points on the buildings, because currently he doesn't want to send in fire ships one by one. Here comes another castle from Liereyy, and indeed he's grabbing some Genoese crossbows to defend against the cavalier. The problem with Gembos is mobility. So what Hera needs to utilize is mobility advantage over here, as the galleons for Liereyy are being forced back by fast fires. I think some demos will probably come in for Liereyy here, but no, that's not the case. He's going for Galleon, and on such a small water where you can't really fall back all the time with your Galleons, I actually like fast fires a lot more than I like Galleons. Still, it very much seems like this may end up being a massive stalemate, because Hera is not super aggressive on land, Lier's got a bigger boom, and neither of the players are close to winning water, so I have a sad feeling that this may be progressing towards a stalemate, and are we just gonna have Hera tap out, or was this a crash? Hera resigned. This is not a crash. This is a little bit awkward. I'm not saying Hera was leading, and he probably looks at the score and says, that's a problem. But was Hera losing here? I don't think so. Like, the water is relatively even. In fact, Liereyy wasn't able to engage here. You got Lithuanians, and you could easily pick up 4 relics here. Right? I mean, I'm not saying, as I said, he's 70 pop behind. True. But is he about to die right now? Absolutely not. Like, 70 population behind, but some of that is Vills. And yeah, military numbers wise, he's behind. But if you take a look at this, it's mostly Galleons. And those Galleons don't fare that well in such a small pond against fire ships. As I said, I'm not saying Hera was ahead, but I would maybe consider this a little bit premature as a GG. It wouldn't have been an easy game for Hera, and he probably felt like he was just a little too much behind, but he would have had the mobility factor. Remember, he's got the map control here. Yeah, and yeah, sure enough, Lyra's got elite skirms, or Gembos, but you can go elite skirms yourself with Lithuanians, and as I said, you got Lithuanians with potentially 4 relics, and if Hera just comes in and starts stonewalling this, then it would have been completely winnable. I don't think that Hera had more chance than like 30%, but it was like at least a solid 20, 25, 30% chance for Hera to win this. I feel like he may have given this game a little too easily to Liereyy, which may backfire at the end, because this game was definitely not as decided as previous ones were. So, for example, the Arabia game that he lost, that was definitely a win for Liereyy, and Hera didn't really have a chance to recover. But this game, I had to double check if this wasn't a crash, because I don't think that there was anything that could have completely justified a resign from Hera in here. He's gonna end up losing Lithuanians, and it is gonna be Italians gone for Liereyy. So now it's an even scoreline. An important win for Liereyy here, making sure that he stays in this set and he's not gonna fall behind by 2 games. So now we're going to the first or the second home map of Hera. He has already played Nomad, or not Nomad, Hideout. Now he's got Valley and Golden Swamp left. Let's talk about remaining civilizations, because there's a lot of things to talk about. I think that Vikings... I think Mayans will probably go on Serengeti, because that's a fairly open map. Mayans could make quite a lot of sense there for Hera. Golden Swamp in that case will probably be Vikings, because while Japanese would have stronger fishing ships, sure, so that you could do a little bit safer fishing on Golden Swamp, I kind of feel like Vikings is the plan for Hera here for longboat style play, which was the old school way of playing the cup map on Hidden Cup, I think, and the Golden Swamp is based on cup. Valley, I think it's gonna be Japanese for Hera, and I have a feeling that he wants to try and go to the middle, get the hunt for himself, and that is the reason why he's picking Japanese, because of the cheaper mills and drop-off buildings. Whereas for Liereyy, Serengeti is probably gonna be... Oh, it's hard to say. Both Serengeti and Valley could end up being Tatars and Franks, but Golden Swamp will be Malay, which could be a Harbor's play. At the end, Hera is back, and we're going to Valley. So, let's jump into the next game. In this one, they're just about to start. We have at least 2 games remaining, potentially 3. So far, the set has been close, but it was a little awkward because most of the games were somewhat one sided, I would say. And also, some of the games were pretty passive, like this one, for example. This was very, very eco focused and not necessarily that much on the aggressive front. All right, so they are launching the game right now. Game number 5 is coming in. So, price pool, by the way, is $2,500. The event is hosted by the Spanish caster Locoser. Congratulations, by the way, to him for the event because the event was very, very good. We had a lot of upsets, a lot of close sets, I would say, many surprises. So, there is a lot to love about this set over here. As we're gonna jump into the next round, or next, not next round, what am I talking about? Next game over here. Welcome to Valley. And it looks like Hera is just having a habit of picking civilizations that I'm not expecting him to do. Which is, as I said, one of the things I praised in his draft. He is able to pick so many civilizations in so many maps because his draft has such a good diversity. I did not really expect Vikings over here, but it's not a bad idea. If you think about the fact that Valley oftentimes is played like a more vulnerable version of Arabia and completely neglecting the middle, then Vikings is a great civ here. Vikings are great for booming, so a more defensive version of Arabia is an absolute dream for Vikings. This will probably mean that we're going to see Japanese on Golden Swamp for Hera, as we do have Tatars on the other side for Liereyy. A completely different civilization to play on this map, because this is a much more aggressive civ here. But there is some things to love about Tatars. For example, the fast numbering could allow you to play something like a Droshfest Castle Crossbowman into forward siege workshop style play. Liereyy has to play this one pretty aggressively because if you consider the fact that Hera's gonna have an insane economy, Liereyy has to punish Hera before Hera is able to start leveraging that eco. So this has to be an aggressive play from Liereyy. He probably needs to go forward siege workshop manganose or something like that. Otherwise, I just don't see him keeping pace with Liereyy in terms, or with Hera in terms of economy. Looking at the bases of the players, you got a pretty ugly gold mine here for Hera. It's pretty well defendable, especially if you end up walling to the edge of the map, which is something that Hera could consider. I think it would be easier to wall here and then just wall here, instead of walling all around here, and to also preserve and protect these 2 gold mines as well. But this gold mine is not nice for Hera because it's on a hill. Other than that, it's a fairly vulnerable front for Hera. Right side is moderately vulnerable. The berries are nice as well. Stone is at the back too, so this is a very good map for Hera if he walls it appropriately. Whereas on the other side for Liereyy, his base is not so amazing, to be honest. The right side is fairly open, berries are sort of exposed. Gold mine is also border case, depends on how you wall type of scenario. He's got quite a lot of decent woodlines at the back, but that's probably the best thing I can say about his map over here. So, for now, we're gonna have 4 on wood for Heron, no sneaky surprises over there, and 4 on wood as well for Liereyy, which means we're going to see something other than a Scout's build. Indeed, that's gonna be a Premium Drosh for Liereyy. With the longer lasting hurtables, it makes quite a lot of sense to try and go for a Drosh Fast Castle here, and that's probably something that we could see from Liereyy in this scenario. So, what's that with that turkey? Capture age? That's awkward. There's a turkey beneath it, apparently. The turkey was hiding underneath the dead, whatever that is, boar. Alright, so here comes the militia. It's only one militia, though. So it could be just a DK, or a decoy. It's not a DK, it's a decoy. Oh, my brain is functioning so slow today. I'm not feeling really great today, by the way, so apologies if I sound potato. Although Liereyy is now mining gold, so it looks like he's gonna end up going for the militias here after all. He only queued up 2 of them, and it looks like he's gonna settle with 2 now, queuing up the 3rd one. But it wasn't perfect by any means. By the way, notice how Liereyy is dropping this mill 1 tile apart from the berries. This is always part of a debate, because many people say you have to drop it as close to the berries as possible. But some people say it's better to just leave 1 tile gap in between the berries and the mill. It looks like Liereyy is part of that club. Obviously, when you have berries like L-shaped like this, you always leave 1 tile gap. But for Liereyy, this is one of the less straightforward examples. There is no clear answer whether or not it is better to leave 1 tile gap or not. Anyways, it looks like there might be a hole on the right side, because that scout was suspiciously coming from the right. Might be over here. Militias now joining the party here for Liereyy, and Hera could be in a bit of a trouble here, because it looks like he is gonna have a bit of a trouble dealing with this, and indeed the quick walls will fail. The militias will start hitting this wood line. Loom is in for Hera, and it looks like he's gonna isolate the militias. This ended up even better. Oh, what a play from Hera. Holy potatoes. This was absolutely top-notch. First, he isolated 1 militia from the other 2 by making this wall, and the militias couldn't regroup. And then he just trapped 1 more militia in here. Such a micro-nerd style play here. Now, is he gonna pay the price for that, though? Because he is going to lose a villager at the end, so I guess Liereyy is gonna be happy with this still. I mean, he got humiliated here with that wall. On the other hand, being humiliated is still better than being dead, and Hera actually lost the villagers, so I guess there was a value here in the drush of Liereyy at the end. Considering how many farms Liereyy is adding, this very much feels like a drush fast castle. The awkward thing is that Liereyy isn't really heavy on the walls. Hera's gonna go for these walls that I recommended before, which is I think the right decision to make. He's gonna have to be careful about these holes here though, because there is a single tile hole here that is pretty hard to spot. Okay, now Hera's gonna make a little zoo here, send in 2 villagers, and then kill that militia. He's gonna do it, look at that. He is just gonna make the zoo, delete the wall in the middle, and then he's gonna take this fight, and that militia is gonna die. So, now Hera is up to feudal age over here. By the way, he apparently wanted to play straight archers in this one, because he didn't go for... Or is it men-at-arms? Okay, it's men-at-arms. Yeah, I was wondering what these blue dots were, but it's gonna be men-at-arms, although he could barely afford the man-at-arms upgrade over here, so it wasn't perfect. Obviously, he had to do a lot of quick walling and microing to make sure that he doesn't lose more villagers. So, yeah, he actually lost 1 villager, but keep in mind that he has free wheelbarrow in exchange, so his economy is still going to be better than Lierey's one at the end. Man-at-arms comes in here, and I wonder if Hera's gonna pull wheels for towers. Because Liereyy is going for a drush fast castle here, so Hera could easily consider pulling this for towers, but there's an alternative here. Hera doesn't need to be super aggressive. He can just leverage the Viking eco and say, okay, I am gonna be a little bit behind in castle age timing, but I can just boom my way up to castle age. Like, don't really make a lot of archers, just try to get up to castle age as fast as possible, and then start queuing up the archers once I clicked up to castle age, so I don't fall behind that much. That could be part of the plan for Hera over here. Looks like he's not really heavy on food, so we may see some archers at the end. Liereyy is going for range and blacksmith up, and this could probably end up being a cav archer play eventually, but it's gonna be a crossbow opening. Because, as I said in the first game, you need to do damage with the first couple of crossbowmen you get from a drush fast castle. If you go for straight cav archers, you won't be able to do that much damage in early castle age, and you will simply not have the ability to leverage that power spike that you're getting by reaching castle age faster. Hera has a considerable amount of idle time in his TC here, because, as I said, his food eco wasn't really good at the beginning, So 50 seconds TC idle time now, in fact it's almost 60, plus one villager lost, that pretty much cancels that wheelbarrow advantage here. So far the start wasn't that crystal clean for Hera. He is still alright, and you see that now he's realizing that, okay, I need to get to Castle Age as fast as possible. This is why he's just mining gold with one, noting that he already has the gold he needs to go up, and just adding as many farms as he can. He knows exactly that the best way to counter this is just to get to Castle Age yourself, and maybe even go preemptive skirmishers, because it is gonna be archers. Hera can afford to play the slow game here. He's Vikings, so he can just sit back and chill. Whereas for Liereyy, as I said, he's the one that has to do the aggressive play here. Second range coming in as well, but it's gonna be cancelled eventually by Liereyy as he's about to click up to Castle Age. Hera's man times will eventually get cleaned up, so I don't think they'll be able to do that much damage. Meanwhile, Hera himself is looking better and better food-wise, and this is what I was referring to. You won't be able to match the castlage time of your opponent here, if your opponent is fast castling and you don't, but you can try to get something comparable. This was something very similar to what Liereyy did in the first game. As a defender, he realized that, okay, Hera is going to rush fast castle, so I'm just going to go as fast as possible into Castle Age, go skirmisher defense against his crossbows, and it worked for Liereyy in the first game. Now the sides have flipped, and it is Liereyy doing this rush fast castle play, and Hera is the one being the defender. So Hera's gonna have to find a way to click up into Castle Age here, which is gonna happen soon, and then reinforce the walls, something that he's doing already, and I appreciate that all the time. That he's gonna have the walls reinforced with houses, which prevents the crossbows from breaking in easily, and then you can just go for either your own crossbowmen. In that case, they will have some trouble in early castle fighting against the ones that already have Thumb Ring. Or you can just go Elite Skirm as well. That could be a solution for Hera over here. And he's missing the buildings. He is missing the buildings. That's a clear indication. Like, I have to say that this game for Hera is a little bit out of the ordinary, let's just say that. Not as clean as Hera usually is. As I said, 1 minute idle time on the TC, and then you got the building missing. Not an awful game from Hera, but we have seen better performances from him before. Nice reaction though, he's gonna go for the skirmishers, he knows exactly that the crossbows are coming his way. In this one, the Mantimes actually are able to get into the base of Liereyy here, but they should be able to just go down to the crossbows here. That's it. The crossbows are now in. They already have Thumb Ring. Botkin arrow is something that Liereyy can squeeze in. Now keep in mind that when we both reach Castle Age, the two players have very, very different economies. Hera has a massive eco lead. He has gotten double bit axe for a lot longer than Liereyy did. He already had wheelbarrow. He's gonna have handcart as well. So really, despite the discrepancy in TC at all times, the economy of Hera will be light years ahead compared to Lierey's eco. Liereyy going for a second TC, which is also going to spawn 2 sheep. That helps quite massively when it comes to establishing a boom of, you know, you don't have to add farms that fast because you can actually take some food from the sheep. So Tatars actually have a pretty decent transition into a boom from a fairly aggressive play here. So for now, the walls are fairly weak. Hera has gotten +1/+1 skirmishers, only feudal age ones, but they can actually at least discourage the crossbows from running in. As Hera is reaching Castle Age, Elite Skirm immediately queued up, shortly followed by Botkin arrow once he can afford the gold cost of it. Once he can afford the gold cost, Hera is only 6 on gold, so it's a little too few. But yeah, here comes Botkin arrow as well for Hera. Looks like Liereyy is not gonna dive in. He knows exactly that Hera is up to Castle Age. He saw the skirms. He should know that Liereyy is playing Elite Skirm. So that is why he is not diving in over here. Botkin arrow and the Boso coming in here for Hera. But this is the moment the Vikings will just start to love their life. They will just chill, sit back, and just boom. And that's exactly what they do best. Let's see if Hera's gonna play 1 TC though. Because it kind of seems like that is the case. he might be thinking about a 1TC Imperial here and not just drag it out to massive economies. He definitely has the tools to boom, but as things stand, I don't see a second TC. Indeed, forward Siege Workshop, I kind of feel like this wants to be sort of a elite skirms plus forward Siege Workshop into aggression and then 1TC fast imp from Hera. Liereyy is missing bot arrow indeed. I don't think that he expects Hera to counterattack here, plain and simple. Now, that is probably the... Oh, Hera saves the Will. That's actually pretty massive, but he might need to lead the Foundation if those crossbows are able to target it. Skirms dive in. There's a Siege Workshop up for Liereyy as he's making a Mangonel, but this is already very, very good for Hera here. He's diving in. He's gonna pick off most of those crossbows, and the resource efficiency is absolutely stellar here for Hera. Even if he can't clean up all of those, he's gonna be able to get the Siege Workshop up, the Mangonel pops out. He's gonna try and take down the Will here. Looks like Hera's gonna be able to escape with his own Will, whereas Liereyy might end up losing this one over here. Indeed, that is actually the first villager kill of Hera in this game. Second TC now coming in as well for Hera. He's behind by 7 Wills, so that's something that's worth monitoring, despite the fact that he has Handcart on the other hand. So now Mangonels are on the way for both players, as that is a nice Mangonel shot for Liereyy to finish off the skirmishers. Hera, you see that he's got the food to make 2 TCs work here, pretty easily in fact. But I think it would have been slightly better if he just starts piling that food up and tries to go for an early imp. Because keep in mind that Liereyy is Tatars, which means that even if he has crossbows, he cannot upgrade those to Arbalest and Imp. So Liereyy has to make a tech switch here in Castle Age into Cav Archers most likely. And that gives a window for Hera to just go Arbalest and just steamroll the game with them. For now, it looks like Hera is gonna have 2 Mangonels out here, and I think he's just waiting for those Mangonels and potentially even the crossbows to leave. The big difference here is that Hera is double layer walled quite far away from his TC, so it's next to impossible for Liereyy to get into his base, whereas for Hera he can definitely already apply pressure from the outside. 3 TCs for Liereyy, only 2 for Hera right now, as the Mangonels start coming in. Still no villager kills after the initial ones, and that's another good ground attack there for Liereyy. And oh, now that's a disaster for Hera. That's an absolute disaster. How could he allow that to happen? I saw that hole, but I was like, there's no way Hera allows this to happen. Or at least not accidentally. If this is intentional, it might actually be an idea. Because if you think about it, these skirms could easily clean up these crossbows, so this may have been intentional by Hera. Idling a few wills in exchange for being able to pick off the opponent's army might be something that's worth it. But he's against Tatars and he's fighting up hills, something that he completely forgot about, so guess what? Tatar crossbows using the hill will beat the skirmishers pretty easily, and now this is an unthinkable move. Because Liereyy, now that he knows that he's losing his army, he's just gonna pick off the wills. He's not going to lose any wills in here in this. But okay, there is a villager kill, so that's something. Liereyy has killed 3 wills total, but that is not something that Hera should have done. Because once Liereyy saw the skirm numbers, it was completely obvious that he would just focus down the wills and try to get as many villager kills as he can for his crossbows. He got another one as well, so it was kind of sloppy from Hera in this one to send those wills out already. In exchange, he's gonna be able to start picking off some wills on Lierey's woodline as the ecos get closer and closer. 3rd TC coming in for Hera on the other gold mine. Meanwhile, the barracks of Liereyy has been destroyed, and now there is a breach on his base, but he's waiting for a massive night transition, something that Hera doesn't seem to be anticipating. Hera's got 1200 wood in the bank as well. I feel like Hera's game here is very underwhelming so far. I don't think that he's having the best game of his life. In fact, I would say he's definitely having a pretty underwhelming and bad game for him. Liereyy shows up with the knights, and like, the thing is that with Vikings you often talk about being able to just outboom your opponent, but that doesn't seem to be a possibility here either for Hera, because Liereyy is having a comparable, if not better, boom than Hera, and currently Hera's army is just unable to stop these knights over here. Liereyy piling up resources, currently in the bank with 120 food and 250 gold. Just now grabbed forging though, so he had a higher food bank a couple of moments ago. We have Monastery coming in here for Hera as a reaction to the Knights over here. Lierey's got quite a lot of TC at all time. That's something that's worth monitoring, because part of the reason why he wasn't able to leverage his free TC advantage that much is that he wasn't able to keep his TCs working consistently. There is a much more consistent villager production in the case of Hera. So, since Hera's woes are all double layered, it's gonna be pretty much impossible for Liereyy to get into the base of the opponent here, and it looks like Hera might be thinking about switching to Arbalests eventually. The good thing here for Hera is that he can just sit behind his walls. He doesn't need to do anything other than sit behind his walls and just boom up to Imperial. Because with the 41 villagers he has on food, he can easily just mass produce villagers on TCs and still be able to click up soon. The gold villager count is a little low for Hera, so I think he needs a couple more of those. He wants to click up soon, but it very much seems like we're gonna have a switch back to crossbows and probably Arbalest as well. Pikemen being teched into by Hera, that's more like a temporary measure, so to say. Something that would actually slow down the aggression of Liereyy, which is getting more and more concerning for Hera as he has to evacuate his gold mine. And if you look at the resources, chances are that Liereyy could beat Hera to Imperial here. This is getting rougher and rougher for Hera. Because right now, if you look at things, Hera's gonna try to tech into Pikemen, but that's alright for Tatars, I would say, because ultimately they want to end up going for Cav Archers, I think. That's their game plan. It looks like for now it's just gonna be Elite Skirms for Liereyy, as he's using the Tatar heal bonus with that Mangonel. He should use the other one as well, and that would be massive. Indeed, that's the case. And this is why I mentioned that having this hill over here inside Hera's base is very disturbing, because Liereyy with Tatars can use it so well if he ever gets in here, and now Liereyy is the one moving into Hera's eco. Hera trying to click up to Imperial, but he's missing the gold for that. The gold that he had to evacuate here and now over here as well. He's just being starved out of gold, and the delay that's being caused on him because of that is starting to become enormous. He still hasn't picked up, and with Vikings, you live and die with your ability to beat your opponent to Imp. As Hera's gonna get a defensive castle up over here. Liereyy has enough stone for his own castle, and he could easily try a forward castle and just go for traps in here. And remember that this TC is gonna melt really fast, because those Tatar Mangonels do a lot of damage carrying down hills. So really, this TC is not gonna stay up for long for Liereyy here, that's for sure. And Hera still not clicking up. I think Hera is in serious trouble, although it looks like he wants to take a fight right now. One good Mangonel shot down hills was great for Liereyy. Another good ground attack was great. Most of the pikemen died before they could actually reach the knights. Now there is some more monks coming in here for conversions. And one knight was converted, 3 monks fall. Beautiful ground attacks all over the place by Liereyy. And really, if I would have to summarize this fight in one word, it's ground attacks. He was able to just decimate the pikemen with the Mangonel before they could even reach the knights. And you see that there is going to be a 3.5 minutes advantage here for Liereyy going into Imperial. He's got 20 on stone, so there will be castles. There's already one on the left side. As looks like Liereyy is just going to play Elite Skirm. He feels like, okay, my opponent is going Pikeman and my opponent is going for Elite Skirms as well and Arbalests. It makes some sense for me to go Arbs, or go Elite Skirms as well in this one. So, we're gonna have a Bracer coming in for Liereyy. And as things stand, we are gonna have a Skirmisher battle over here. Now, if it's Skirmisher battle, the Vikings could easily mix in some champions, which would be pretty hard for the Tatars to deal with. And Hera already has 3 barracks, so it wouldn't even take super long to mix in those champions. If Hera sees that, hey, my opponent is going heavy on skirmishers, either Berserks or champions can work. Currently, I see no Berserks popping out, neither champions, but production is probably better for champions as things stand. So, now the skirms are pushing up for Liereyy over here, as Army numbers are definitely favoring him, but the army quality is not so promising. It's only elite skirms and a couple of Kashyyyk. Behind this one, no one has any relics, as we're gonna have outposts being dropped by Liereyy. I like how Hera's keeping one scout over here to see if Liereyy is taking that gold. As we have a random, I think this was a converted knight in the possession of Hera now, just chilling and ignoring the skirms coming his way. Hera is actually buying a lot of wood here. That's interesting because at some point in the game he was floating like 1,500 wood. It looks like he's having a bit of a wood issues here because most of the wood lines here can be denied. You see there is skirms harassing this can be harassed, same for these. So you see that he's sort of scrambling for wood here a little bit because these wood lines are running out and this one is oversaturated with veils. That's why you have to buy a lot of wood. And this one, just not grabbing ballistics, chemistry as well. Meanwhile though, we're gonna have Liereyy just solidifying defense over and across the map as we are seeing more and more Kashyyyk hit the field. Cav archers will also be added as now Liereyy comes in. Why are those flaming javelins so big? They're not supposed to be this big, I believe. Nonetheless, these are fully upgraded lead skirms here for Liereyy, and also a couple of Kashyyyk, which is the perfect arrow sponge type unit. Even if it doesn't have +4 defense, it's something that's going to absorb a lot of skirmisher fire here. So, now the Kashyyyk come in, and we are gonna have those as a very, very cost-efficient meat shield. Looks like Hera's gonna make barracks, though. He knows exactly that he needs two things here. He needs pikemen to deal with the light cab, but I think more importantly, he needs champions. Viking champions would make quite a lot of sense over here as a defensive castle comes up on the right side. Once again, we are in for a slower-paced game in here. Liereyy just wants to go full Kashyyyk, and it definitely helps that he already has 3 castles up over here, although none of them are producing Kashyyyk right now. +4 defense is in as well, Liereyy missing the attack upgrades and the elite upgrade as well. This castle, it's gonna be dicey. It should come up, but it's gonna come at a couple of villagers' price. So, Hera, losing a decent amount of vills here, he is just spamming right-click, and indeed it goes up. Almost a proper doubt castle in this one. Hera took some beating over there, but he gets the castle up, as it is not the end of the world. And now it looks like they're just gonna chill beneath the castle and said, okay, I'm gonna destroy that. Hera's grabbing masonry, not utilizing murder holes at all. He's just gonna send in his army there, but I think Liereyy is intentionally attacking this to force Hera to send his army here, because I think he's preparing something in the middle, and indeed that's the case. The reason why Liereyy actually kept attacking that castle is because he wanted to force Hera to pull his army to the right, so that he can move up in the middle. And that's exactly what the game plan was. I see quite a lot of cav archers in here as well for Liereyy. So he's got a pretty decent resource retention rate unit against the pikemen, but he obviously has to be careful with the elite skirms over here. Hera is very heavy on elite skirms, but I think that at this point, Kashyyyk and Cav Archer is probably the better unit composition. That is a huge amount of trash units from Hera, by the way. I think he's missing chieftains, so the pikemen are not particularly amazing against cavalry, though. As, look at that army! Look at that army! 30 pikemen, 34 skirmishers in this one, as now it looks like Hera is teching into Siege Ram. Thumbring is also coming in, but that's quite a lot of Kashyyyk that are trying to dive in. Liereyy was waiting for a lead. He's also probably trying to wait until a blast furnace, but he sees an opportunity here with those skirms having little protection from pikemen. He's gonna send in his own skirms as well to deal with the pikemen over here. There is apparently going to be a plan for Liereyy. I think he wants to take this house down with the trap and then send in the cav archers, but looks like he might need the cav archer numbers in the middle, as the Kashyyyk are all in here for the fight. Pikemen are nice here, but Hera doesn't have Blast Furnace, and Kashyyyk are pretty tanky. So Kashyyyk will be able to absorb quite a lot of that pikemen, but not enough. And this was a questionable fight here for Liereyy. All of his Kashyyyk got absolutely wrecked. Maybe he thought it's just pikemen that he can jump them, but Chieftain's pikemen are almost just as good as Halberdiers are, so This is an awful fight here for Liereyy. An absolutely horrendous decision to go for that. He is still struggling for his scrim numbers, so that's why he maybe felt like he needs to take it in order to, ensure that he's not falling behind that much. And it looks like this trap is just big chillin' taking down the castle here on the left side. No one gives a damn about it. One villager or one relic for each player, as once again the Nexi or Kashyyyk come in. And when there's elite scrims behind to support, it is a completely different scenario, because the elite scrims can pick off the pikemen, and once there is enough elite scrims here for Liereyy, pikeman elite scrim is definitely inferior compared to pikeman Kashyyyk. Still, Hera is controlling his army very, very nicely, and despite the fact that he's got a negative KD, he's definitely taking cost-efficient engagements. Meanwhile, though, you look at that. Cav Archer, using the mobility of those, Liereyy is gonna move in, pick off a couple of vills on the right side. Both players at pretty much even economies and population overall as well. Liereyy is floating a huge amount of food and gold, by the way, as he has just now grabbed the second relic. In this one, we'll have the siege workshop slowly being trapped down. Hera wants to go for siege rams, and he has got quite a few of them, but I don't think that these will do much when there is so many Kashyyyk around. Look at the flood of Kashyyyk coming in here from these castles. And you also got a bunch of elite scrims. Light cav will be added as well as a raiding unit for Liereyy, as he sends in the cav archers to the back of this wood line. That's a very, very nice find over there. -3, 4 villagers there for Hera. And woodline denied, keep that in mind. That Liereyy is denying wood lines over here. And Hera has limited amount of wood left to work with. Looks like Hera's gonna go for a breakout attempt. The rams will soak up a lot of arrow fire, but I'm not sure if this is enough for Hera, because these are not siege rams just yet, and the scrims are taking down the majority of the pikemen. I think the Kashyyyk are high enough in numbers to deal with the rams, and now you see that the pikemen are just not there anymore for Hera. He's down to 20 pikemen, and all those siege rams going down will be very expensive here for Hera. And keep in mind that behind this one he's losing buildings, and he's on a timer because he is now against 3 relics, and he's also losing quite a lot of wood lines. So, as things stand, if you look at Liereyy, he's got perfect map vision, perfect map control, and Hera is just pretty much cornered in here. So, I feel like this could be one of the last hurrahs here for Hera, because I don't think that he can actually break out here. This is everything but efficient. He's trying his best, but I feel like this game might be gone for him, as now he just full trash units. His opponent has a lot more gold to work with. Liereyy is 4 relics, Hera is 1. I just want to quickly give a shout out to the map control that Liereyy has, because part of the reason why he's leading in this one is because he has a massive map control, but obviously the fights that he's taking are also pretty good. So these are okay-ish fights. Not necessarily ideal, because guess what? The pikemen are still eating your Kashyyyk, but Kashyyyk, I mean, they generate gold when fighting. Then you have the extra relics as well, so I don't think that losing Kashyyyk is actually a major problem here for Liereyy. He's waiting for the opportunity to strike once again, as the skirmisher numbers are dropping for Hera. Hera is full trash units right now. So, like, at this point, maybe even Tatar swordsman could be something that gets considered for Liereyy. Which, like, those are pretty underwhelming. But, I mean, against the unit composition of Hera, even Tatar swordsman would work nicely. You see, Stable's already coming out for Liereyy. He just feels like he's always one step ahead compared to Hera. And now traps are being set up so they can start shelling castles over here. One Kashyyyk coming in on the left to raid as well, but raids will soon be conducted by light cavalry or hussars in this one, as Hera is trying to hold here, but his military numbers are dropping quite heavily. So I think Hera is going to start to realize that, oh shoot, this is not gonna work. Because if you take a look at this fight, once again, he's the one that just gets pushed back more and more. Sure, he's slowing down the advance of Liereyy, and he's buying himself a lot of time, but the question is, what exactly is he buying time for? So, It is traps now being set up for Liereyy. The pikemen keep flooding out, but they just get absolutely shredded by the Tatar skirmishers here. That's actually a bit of a sloppiness here by Liereyy, allowing that trap to be taken down. But, I mean, look at this. Ram's already pushing the left side. I see Light Cav coming in on the right side. So, yeah, this game, I feel like this Berserk switch is just a little too late. It might come in just in time to save the day, but I'm not so sure. Because keep in mind that behind this one there is 4 relics for Liereyy, and indeed, this Berserk switch just came too late. If this comes in 5 minutes ago, it would have been a different scenario, but Berserk is one of those units that really needs the elite upgrade to be efficient. It's one of the unique units that benefit the most from the elite upgrade. Champions could have worked as well, potentially, but by the time these Berserks started to show, it is one castle that was probably about to go down. Then you get Light Cavs raiding your eco, and Hera was really strangled here. He didn't have resources. So, like, this wood line was raided, this wood line was out. Pretty much all the wood lines were out, so Hera was in a serious timer over here, and I totally agree that if he used that 1,500 gold, it would have been a completely different game, but that gold went unused, and you can have the biggest gold bank ever if you don't have wood income, and if you are only doing trash units that just get out-trashed by the opponent. So, yeah, that was the main thing here. Castle going down, and the Liereyy was just one step ahead here. I think that Berserk switch had to come in like 5-10 minutes ago. And it was awkward from Hera that we didn't see anything like that. Like, see how many barracks he has? He was making pikemen. And the pikemen are definitely a tool to deal with the Kashyyyk, but if you have chieftains, Berserks is the name of the game. Berserks eats Kashyyyk, and they absolutely eat skirmishers. Now, obviously, if it's Berserk, then Liereyy has the chance to switch it to Cav Archers, and then that's once again problematic for Hera. So Cav Archer Kashyyyk should still beat the Berserk play, but the full trash play here was definitely far from ideal, especially with this much gold left in the bank for Hera. So yeah, this was a somewhat underwhelming game from Hera, I believe. I think he's happy that it's ended, because all over the place, this was just a weird game from him. I don't think that he had a good one in this one, because if you go back all the way, he had that weird moment. Like, if you remember, like, this entire game, just go back in certain times, there were some weird moments for Hera. Like, for example, if you think about the Drush, then he got beaten to Imperial with Vikings, and that tells us two things. First of all, he actually suffered from quite a bit of damage before clicking up to Imperial, and then he also got outplayed by Liereyy. Like, obviously, being outplayed by Liereyy is nothing to be ashamed of, but on the other side of things, I believe that this game was just probably the weakest so far from Hera. Well, it is what it is, right? Everybody has worse games. This one just didn't work out as Hera planned it to. This goldmine was really hurting him, by the way. So this goldmine, if it was over here, for example, Hera would have had a much better game, I think. So I'm not gonna lie, Hera actually had a significant deficit because of this goldmine. It's on a hill, and there were moments where he lost this hill, remember that. And that's where things started to get really rough for him. So the fact that Liereyy is at 40 villagers killed and Hera is at 4 is kind of telling you why this game went the direction it actually headed to. So, with that, we have Veli in the hands of Liereyy, and he's the one moving into match point. Now, after the first Arabia loss, Hera rebounded very nicely, and I still believe that Hera's civilizations are the ones I like more. But it's gonna be Hera's home map. It can be Golden Swamp, and that's it. It can only be Golden Swamp. So we are going over there. It will be Vikings gone for Hera, and Liereyy has lost Tatars over here. So, match point, Hera's gonna have to go for his other home map over here, and he's got Japanese for that. I think it would have been better to have Vikings on this map and Japanese on Valley, although I'm not necessarily a fan of Japanese on Valley. But I'm gonna trust Hera and say that he has an idea for Golden Swamp, and there could be quite a lot of good ideas here, like go for early fishing, drushes could work, men at arms plays could work. So I'm gonna say that I'm gonna believe in Hera and say that Japanese is something that he has a good idea for. Other side is gonna be Malay, which is gonna be a tough nut to crack though, because I feel like whatever Japanese do, Malay can do it but better. Their archer plays better. They have bombard cannons. Then they have the harbors available, which would make it a very interesting game if we saw harbors on Golden Swamp. So there's a lot to love about this civilization matchup, and the decider game would be on Serengeti, Lierey's home map, with Franks versus Mayans. I think if Hera edges out this game somehow, I mean this Golden Swamp one, then he's gonna have a good shot at the last one, because I personally prefer Mayans over Franks for the last game. This one is gonna be a lot harder for Hera though. This is where it gets hard, and guess what? Hera's gonna once again spice things up here. He is picking Mayans on this map, something that's borderline unprecedented, but I actually like that. Here's the deal. Malay versus Japanese heavily favors Malay, I would say. But Mayans versus Malay probably favors Mayans by a massive margin, if you ask me. Now, it's a big question what Hera can do with Japanese versus Franks on an open map like Serengeti. But I feel like right now Hera is taking this at a one game at a time approach. So he's like, okay, it doesn't matter what I use for the final game if I lose here. So I might as well pick the civilization that I have the best chance with to win this game, which is definitely Mayans and not Japanese here against Malay. And then just figure out things once we get to game number 7, as he's gonna be on the right side in blue Mayans and left side is Malay for Liereyy in green. A pretty distinct difference between the two players' bases is that Hera's base is wide open on the well, not wide open, but fairly open, but wallable. Look at these two wood lines. These allow you to wall quite easily. Lierey's base is also wide open, but there isn't really an easy wall to work with, and given the fact that this is your primary gold mine, this is your stone, you might need to wall all the way up here. Now, we might not see a huge amount of walling early on because the players may go for water engagements, so there's a chance we could just see standard water fighting and not any kind of land engagements. By the way, I want to channel it back a little bit to the Mediterranean game while we have this peaceful Dark Age over here. You remember when I said that on Mediterranean, I think Hera still had a very good chance, and he tapped out? I'm not saying that he was leading there, I'm not even saying that it was like more than a 30% chance, but it was far from being totally over. And now, that is something that needs to be considered, that I did mention that I think that he actually gave Liereyy a pretty easy game there that could have been continued for a longer game. And the thing is that now, one of those scores for Liereyy is that Mediterranean game that could have been turned around, I believe. I have seen Hera turning around games much harder than the one that he has resigned on. Now, here comes Liereyy, and that is very, very sloppy there for Liereyy. What happened there to him? I mean, it's one thing that you didn't expect the TC to be there, but it's not like that TC was completely unpredictable at that spot. Liereyy is going for what seems to be a premium rush, by the way, and the problem that he's facing is that he has zero scouting information on Hera's base. This is a serious problem here for Liereyy. This is why losing that scout hurts so badly. I don't really understand. Like, maybe he assumed that the opponent's TC is a little bit further back or something like that, but he ran straight into the TC, and that's gonna hurt really badly. On the other side, Hera is gonna have a scouting coming up here, and I think he may have been considering to lame that boar at the end, but that wasn't successful. He actually ate a bit of a TC fire himself. So, militia's coming out. Hera actually sees it, So I would think that he's gonna grab early loom here. Well, he's Mayan, so he already has it, so that's not even a problem. And he's just gonna go for small wars, and we are going to see a pre-milled rush as well from Hera. Beautiful patch of berries. I mean, it's a straight berry line over here for Hera. So, militias are now coming in, only to clash on the island in the middle. Looks like Hera is able to squeeze in one more here because he's got the 20 gold. Liereyy is just now pumping out the third one, and I wonder if he's gonna add one more. It doesn't seem like it, but sometimes you see players adding one more militia just so that they can swing the battle in their favor, so that they can get something for the rush. I also like how Hera is using his scout to poke around the militia. Look at this. He's diving in, landing a hit, because he knows that he can heal up the militia inside the TC. Or heal up the eagle inside the TC, and that's pretty massive. Being able to just get a couple of free hits on those militias is quite big. You see that the overall HP of these militias is much worse than the ones from Hera. That is because Hera was using a scout, and that's a very nice way of doing this. Hera is coming in here with a dog. I'm not so sure if Liereyy has seen that or not. It looks like he didn't. So this is a crucial piece of information missing for Liereyy. Remember, he lost his scout. And that means that Hera's gonna have a potentially untouched fishing eco here. That is pretty massive, I would say, and since he's sending out villagers for hunt and doing quite a bit of a walling with a back gold and back stone like that, I have a feeling that this could be a very nice Drushfest castle here by Hera. Liereyy is also coming in with the hunt. Let's see if Hera's gonna try and just kill those huntables. That could be an idea, and you see that Liereyy knows that Hera is coming to kill the huntables. He immediately shot them with the wills because he was like, okay, Hera is coming to kill the huntables. And Hera's gonna be like, oh shoot, he killed them faster than I could have had. So, the reason why you're going for fishing ships here, even if you lose them in like mid-feudal age to the opponent, is because that still gives you a massive boost when it comes to food income, and that's exactly what you need to have a fairly clean, fast castle over here. Hera indeed is going for that one. In this case, whereas on the other side, Liereyy has something similar on his mind. Liereyy will probably beat Hera to castle age because he's melee. So the question now becomes, is Hera gonna play straight plumed archers? Because he could technically do it. That stone mine is safe enough to go straight plumed archers, and that's probably gonna be better long term than going for crossbows. Big chance here for Hera to yoink a villager with the militias of Liereyy coming back home. That chance fades away, and now Liereyy comes in with a quick gate to prevent the escape of these militias. Hera will be trapped in here for the time being. His best chance is probably to try and snipe this villager as Lierey's quick walls are coming in, and I think that's what he's working towards. He's gonna try and get that villager closer to his militias while he's running away, and then turn back and fight that. Another quick wall coming in here as Hera turned back to take down the militia of his opponent, and I don't think that this is enough for Hera. It might be, actually. It might be enough for Hera. It's gonna be close. Nope, it's not enough. It's just a little too few for Hera. Still, he actually managed to pretty much force Liereyy to stay within his own base, and that allows Hera to go for a beautiful, straight, fast castle. Looks like it's not going to be straight plumed archers, which means that we are going to see archery range and blacksmith coming in as buildings. Liereyy evolved his right side, and he's going for fast castle as well. So, since Liereyy was able to make sure that his opponent can't lame his huntables, he is gonna play with a decent amount of food at the beginning. He's gonna vote all the way out here. Now, if you remember the previous round, I think that was against... that was Liereyy versus Max, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Or am I confusing things? I'll have to check Wikipedia. But the thing is... that... no, it was Liereyy versus Yo. Wasn't it the game where Liereyy went for the mangonel push? Or am I confusing it with a different set? I firmly remember that there was a decider game on Golden Swamp where we had one of the players winning the game by going for a forward siege workshop play. I don't remember who it was, but that was actually a very, very good showcase of how to do it. Anyways, it's gonna be double range for Hera for the time being. Militias now come back, and now it's a Spearman out as well for Liereyy, which means that he's gonna start poking at those fishing ships. And the thing is that Spearmen do have bonus damage against ships, so they will actually take them down pretty easily. A Spearman is a very cost-efficient and cheap way of making sure that your opponent's fishing eco is gonna be gone. It looks like Liereyy is going for some big vols over here. Interesting. He's not even voling like this. He wants to vol all the way to the corner. I wonder what's the motivation of that. I mean, he's got a lot of wood to work with, but it's very, very un-Liereyy-like to vol like that. Usually Liereyy doesn't want to vol a lot. This is definitely something that I didn't expect from Liereyy here. Meanwhile, for Hera, he is fully voled already. His castlage is going to be slightly slower than his opponent's castlage here. That's the power of melee here. And this is why I said that I don't necessarily like the straight crossbow play of Hera. Because I think that melee can do the exact same thing, just better. The real power comes in when plumed archers hit the field. So I could have imagined the straight fast castle plumed archer play here from Hera. Looks like the archers will clash in the middle, but the crossbows are almost halfway in for Liereyy. On the other hand, because he's so fast to cancellate, he won't be able to afford Botkin Arrow, something that Hera should be able to squeeze out over here. And that's a massive difference between the two players, having crossbow and Botkin versus just crossbowman but no Botkin Arrow in this one. Keep in mind that if things go this way, and Hera doesn't switch to plumed archers, then an eagle switch is also a possibility, as a fishing ship goes down over here as the first villager casualty of the game. So, if this continues, Hera has multiple options. He's got the option to go plumed archers and just play archer war. He's got the option to switch into eagles, although I think that eagles is probably the worst decision here, because melee could just go for karambits eventually and just eat them. So I think plumed archers is probably the ultimate target here for Hera. Does a nice cleanup of Lierey's crossbows here. Obviously, Liereyy I think was one range for quite a while, and now he's going for ballistics for his crossbows. Hera has had two ranges, and this is where the melee could actually have trouble against Mayans. Mayans have an insane economy, so the fact that these crossbows are so cheap allows you to conserve a bunch of resources, and that allows you to get to Imperial pretty fast. So there's a chance that if this game continues as it is right now, then we could see something like a 60-65 villagers Imperial by Hera with like 2 TCs or so, and just go for Arbalest and try to finish off the game as fast as possible, maybe with a castle drop or something like that. The other option is that he just goes for a very eco-heavy approach, leveraging the fact that he already has an advantage in army numbers, so his eco is not gonna get pushed. He can get away with a pretty greedy boom over here. But this game is definitely looking much better for Hera than the previous one was. The previous one was sort of wacky all around. There were some sloppy moves. This one is much, much cleaner for Hera. So there's a chance that we're going to see a decider game between these two. It looks like Hera doesn't want to go early imp. He is more than happy to play 3 TCs. Liereyy is only playing 1 TC though, and I kind of feel like this game is a little bit underwhelming from Liereyy in this case though. Crossbows pop out. Obviously Liereyy is, I think, having the Civ disadvantage. And if you add it to the fact that I don't think that Liereyy expected Mayans here, I don't necessarily blame him for being caught off guard in this one. But so far, this is a stomp. Hera has 23 kills, 15 losses, and as I said, he's gonna go up to 3 TCs, although he doesn't just have the food eco to keep pumping out villagers. Crossbows are not coming in, and while these quick walls are definitely nice, if these crossbows come in here, they can actually deny the gold mine. This forces Liereyy to make a defensive siege workshop, but I think Hera has already done enough damage, and he can just sit back and chill with his crossbows and slowly start thinking about progressing on towards Imperial. Once again, I appreciate how he is voling off these and also adding a layer of houses behind. Those are small things, but those can be life-saving when it comes to preventing potential groups of crossbows of quickly getting through walls. So those small things actually make it a much, much safer game, I would say, for Hera. Now, Liereyy wants to play 1TC Imp here. It's something that is very, very arena-like, to be honest, from Liereyy. You see that this early Imp from Melee could be devastating, and that's something that Hera has to be cautious about. This is the main reason why I don't like how Liereyy just lost the majority of his crossbows. Imagine that he had plus 10 crossbows over here to work with. Because the main problem that Liereyy is going to be facing is that he's going to be so fast to Imperial here that he won't really have good numbers. He will have like what? 15 Arabs at maximum? On the other hand, Hera is nowhere close to imping. And this is where things could get ugly. Because with Lierey's micro having that extra range on the Arabs, thanks to Bracer, could also come and play a role. And the thing is that even if Hera reacts immediately to seeing Liereyy click up, or reach Imperial, it's going to take such a long time for Hera to reach Imp. It's not his fault, it's Mayans, right? Mayans also have a pretty fast Imperial Age, but Melee are just something different, especially if it's a Melee 1TC build. And since Liereyy is fully walled, Hera doesn't know what Liereyy is doing. That's a very, very big thing here. Hera doesn't know if Liereyy has a TC here and a TC here. He probably confirms the gold not having a TC, but doesn't know if there's a second one over here, and maybe, let's say, there's a gold here, and then you have one over it. So Hera isn't 100% sure that Liereyy is playing a 1TC Imp here. If he knew it, he would be much more aggressive, or would just try to preserve resources and go up to Imperial himself. Whichever the case, for now Liereyy is going to have to defend with a Mangonel, and it may be his undoing that he has just unleashed the crossbows. If he loses these crossbows, that 1TC Imp is going to have zero effect, so Liereyy needs to play this one a lot more cautiously than he's doing right now. He's also missing ballistics, which is gonna hurt pretty badly. So, sure, you have Bracer, but you see, Arbalest is not something he can afford. Bracer is something that's gonna be there. Chemistry will be late. Chemistry being late means that he has no siege to back this one up, and once again, every moment after Liereyy reached Imperial, it's just telling Hera that Hera needs to go up, and you see that Hera suddenly started banking resources. He knows exactly he needs to get up here. And this is why it's so important that Liereyy cannot immediately capitalize on his imp advantage. Guard tower defense by Hera, I like that. Because the Mangonels and like the Arbs from Liereyy, or soon to be Arbs, will be able to pick off the Mangonels of Hera. And the only siege weapon we have on the field is a Mangonel right now, so guard towers could make quite a lot of sense as Hera is now mining stone. He's mining this stone mine, by the way, not the one that's safe. But he probably wants a castle for plumed archers. This is a very interesting battle. I love how Hera is intercepting reinforcements. He knows he can't engage this directly, and Liereyy just taps out. Liereyy just taps out. Wait, oh, that's why. That's why. I didn't even see that. But good news. There is something that compensates for being a potato caster. I was like, why did Liereyy tap out? Couldn't he just do anything with his army? That is because there was a demo raft coming in here from Hera, and obviously he's got 18 crossbows, 14 of them are on this screen. I did mention that you need to preserve those crossbow numbers, and that's not gonna be the case. A crucial mistake from Liereyy, you should never go close enough to such docks. And obviously, if you look at this scenario now, it's over. Because Liereyy, by the time he rebuilds his Arbalest, it's gonna be too late. Hera is gonna be up to Imperial soon. Liereyy was already in a tough spot because he didn't have the siege to back it up. He didn't have the resources to get the crucial upgrades with his early imp. But after losing all those crossbows, that's gonna be absolute game over here. Hera has definitely surprised Liereyy here with the Civ selection, I would say, because I don't think Liereyy expected Mayans to be picked here. And it looks like Hera's gamble to just say, okay, take it one at a time, just take this game with Mayans, even though Mayans is something that he probably wanted to preserve for Serengeti. He just wants to play it right now so that he has a Civ advantage over Melee, and oh boy, he had a Civ advantage. Because Mayans' unit composition is something that will clap the unit composition of Melee, so Liereyy had to figure something out. And that something was a fast Imperial into Arbalest, but he didn't have the resources to afford, most importantly, chemistry. because what you need here is probably chemistry first, because you want to start pumping out bombard cannons. You need at least 2 bombard cannons. Even if you don't have, let's say, bracer on your arbs, just arblast and chemistry, but you have 2 bombard cannons, that's better than having fully upgraded arbs, because you need some sort of siege to capitalize on your early imp, and that's not something that was possible, and that demo sealed the deal. Hera giving a show to the viewers as well, and that means that we're going into a decider game. The recipe is simple. Whoever wins this game is going to be the champion of Collection Cup. Whoever loses is going to be the second place, obviously. And we're going to have a Japanese versus Franks matchup. A matchup where I said that I don't like Hera's choices with this civilization. And I just believe that he probably wanted to go something different here on Serengeti, but he had to adapt to the situations. He had to pick Mayans on this map. So I guess it's gonna be Japanese versus Franks. Now, the thing is that Japanese are not as bad as it might sound. They have a pretty diverse opening. They have fully upgraded cavalry and castle age, which makes them better in that regard compared to Ethiopians, compared to Vikings, whatsoever. Oh, the fact that you can replace lumber camps pretty easily helps with these Serengeti woodlines as well. So there's a lot of things to love about the Japanese on this map, but one thing is sure. Hera's gonna have to play this one very aggressively as I welcome you to game number 7 here in this best of 7 in between the two players. So, Hera is Japanese on the right side in blue, left side is Franks in green, as we're gonna look at the maps in a moment. So, the thing is that Japanese will have to play this one pretty aggressively, because in Imperial, Cavalier throwing X-Men is not something that Japanese have tools to stop. But if you look at Castle Age, they can actually match up with Franks in a Night War. They have the same upgrades on their knights available. Pikemen is a very useful addition for Japanese over here. So there is some things to love about them. They can open men-at-arms as well. So you open like men-at-arms archers and then start adding scouts later on. So there's quite a lot of diversity involved in Japanese, but that's mostly early game diversity. Late game options are much more limited with Cavalier missing +4 defense. How does Samurai match up here? Awful. Absolutely awful. I mean, if it can close the distance, sure, but I mean, Samurai dies to Paladin, and throwing X-Men will just pick them off from a distance. Samurai is not really an option in this case. So, Liereyy is gonna open with free on wood for the time being. No surprise about that one, because guess what? He's Franks, so he's got the predictable cavalry play over here for him. 4 on wood for Hera, so he's not gonna go for surprise scouts. I think that surprise scouts would have been a possibility by Hera, but I would think that he probably wants to capitalize more on the Japanese man-at-arms opening. That may make a little bit more sense for him. He's got a cheap meals available, so he could technically meal his huntables, but they're so far out in the front that it's just gonna be nearly impossible, and I don't envy Hera for this map. This is a very, very bad map in terms of hunt spawn. You need that hunt because you only spawn with 1 elephant, but you see, the hunt is very far away, and it's on the front. This is a really hard deer push, and it's also impossible to mill it. Compared to Lierey's one, he's got 2 different patch of huntables though. That's something that's worth noting. The ostriches and the zebras are separate, but both of them are closer to the TC. Still, if this was at the back of Hera's base, he would just mill it, because it's a patch of zebras and a patch of ostriches combined, as we're gonna have a pre-milled rush coming in here for Hera. Considering that quick walling these Serengeti woodlands is often tricky because it's hard to spot the holes, the drush could actually inflict quite a significant amount of damage. The berries are at the back, so I don't think that it's gonna be able to hit that one, but the woodline might be a target here for Hera. So, now we got the militias coming in here for our blue player. So far, Liereyy has just been pushing in deer, so he's gonna be unaware of the drush coming his way. In fact, he's even unaware of 2 of his goats on the left side of his base. So, we come in with the ostrich. for now for Liereyy. It looks like he pushed in 2 or 3 of them. He left the zebras intact for the time being. And it looks like he's gonna find his herdables. He's gonna be all good. One thing, as I said, that he's not gonna find is the militias, though, and that's where things are starting to get a little bit scary for Liereyy. Looks like Hera's adding some farms, but that is not because he wants to go for a castle age, it's because he kind of realizes that he cannot actually push these deer in time. It's a really unlucky map spawn here for Hera. Like, this, if it was at the back, it could be millable. If it was closer, it could be pushable. Currently, it's none of those, so you just kind of have to accept the fact that that is almost a useless patch of huntables. Some quick walls are in here for Liereyy, but God knows if there is any holes in here, I have to say. Like, I have absolutely no idea. As Hera comes in here, he is going to bump into the wood line. Let's see if he finds an opening. I don't think there is an opening here, but you never know with these type of wood lines. It looks like Hera also knows that there is no opening, and as expected, the berries will be walled around, so no chance for Hera to do damage there. In this case, though, the Drush may not pay off for Hera. Oh, nope, it's not happening. For a moment, it seemed like Hera might actually find an opening on a wood line, as he is unable to delay the barracks here either. So he's not gonna get a massive amount of value for these militias here. He's gonna play 23 villagers, Drush archers, but in this case, the Drush is just gonna delay your archers, so this was sort of a unsuccessful Drush, I would say, for Hera. Here, obviously it's not his fault, it was Lierey's nice reaction that made it happen, but in this case, the Drush for Hera probably didn't pay off. Unless Liereyy actually sends his first few scouts here to clean up these militias, but I think if you're Liereyy, you're sending your scouts forward. Because a Drush Archer's build means that the other player is going to be later to Feudal Age, which means that you can actually do some damage with your scouts before Spearman would hit the field. Looks like we're going to have a Spearman out for Liereyy. That is just because he wants to kill that early scout. And Liereyy now rolling in the villager here, as it looks like Liereyy will go for a cleanup. In this case, this might still be worth it for Hera, because he's going to be like, okay, I just want to make sure that I buy myself some time to get to archers, as we're going to have the scouts coming in here. For Liereyy currently has 2 scouts on the field, and I like how Hera is just forcing him to run around. That's basically what you should do. You're like, okay, try to delay that scout aggression as much as possible. And I think that considering that Liereyy is fully walled on his resources, other than there is a tile missing here. There's a tile missing there, but now that the scouts are around, Hera won't be able to engage, and that is gonna be a cleanup. Liereyy loses 1 scout, so I guess the value was still here for Hera. He was able to kill 1 scout, damage another one, and I mean, he still has a militia around to just do some harassment, and a scout as well. So at the end of the day, it looks like it paid off for Hera to have this rush. I think it could have been better for Liereyy to just keep the quick walls up on the woodlands and the berries, send some scouts forward, and then try to hit this gold mine or hit this wood line from the opponent before Hera reaches Feudal. Hera just now going for the first range over here as the scouts hit the field, and that's trying to get a little scary for Hera. Hera has 0 spearmen, the first one is in queue right now, and there is an overchop here on this wood line. Now 3 scouts, one of them being heavily damaged, may not be able to do that much damage, but 1 or 2 villagers could still die to this, especially if one of them is idle fighting. Beautiful fight there for Liereyy. He dives in, snipes one villain, and then disengages when the spearman arrives. And from this point on, Liereyy is the one that has the mobility advantage, and now things are falling apart for Hera over here. Those are Frankish scouts as well, so they're harder to kill, as a second scout goes down. Nice trap over there by Hera in exchange, but I mean, you already lost 2 villagers here, and that is far from ideal for Hera, obviously. Liereyy in exchange has 20 seconds more TC at all times, so that attributes for almost the villagers, so that is why Hera is only like 1.5 vills behind. Still, I think that the mobility advantage could be pretty massive here for Liereyy, who's also walling himself with the houses in most cases, goes for skirms, so he can pick off archers and spearmen. And I just feel like I'm currently liking Lierey's unit composition a little bit better over here. So for now, the scouts will just chill around, see where those archers are going, and they will wait for the skirmishers to arrive that aren't really coming. It looks like Liereyy will just sit back and defend with those skirms. Now decides to move out, but by the time he arrives here, the walls will be up for Hera. He had to make quite a lot of panic walls after seeing those scouts, but the walls will be up. Hera is gonna be down by 2 wheels though. So, as things stand, Hera was able to retain his scout, which is pretty valuable. At this point, the best thing he can do is scout with it. But since on Serengeti you have a bunch of scattered gold mines and wood lines, it is actually very important to have that scout alive, because finding those neutral gold mines is vital. Meanwhile, the skirmishers have retreated all the way back to Lierey's base. Hera, slightly better resource bank for Castle Age, but not by a massive margin. Whereas for Liereyy, we're gonna have the Fletching coming in for him. He's spending quite a lot of resources on his feudal age aggression, and that's not something that should be overlooked. Invested into a couple of scouts. Now we have skirmishers with Fletching coming in as well. I think Hera is investing less, and that could mean that Hera could cook up to Castle Age faster. You see that he's already piling up resources for Castle Age. So I'm actually liking Hera's position more and more in this situation. He won't be able to get through these walls, that's almost guaranteed, but he could beat Liereyy to Castle Age, and then maybe a forward siege workshop and pike and siege push could be really reasonable for... there's a hole there, right? There's gotta be a hole. There is a hole there for Liereyy, and I think he knows that. I think Liereyy knows about that hole, but he was waiting for the skirms. Such a smart play from Liereyy. He was waiting for the skirms just to make sure that Spearman can't intervene in the slaughter. And that is another villager killed, make it 2. This is why it's so hard to wall off these wood lines, and things are falling apart now for Hera suddenly. Because while he was definitely planning to go up to Castle Age faster, losing 2 more villagers over there is definitely gonna hinder his chances. And now Liereyy is just as close to Castle Age as Hera is. And with those walls up, Hera was confident that he doesn't need to unpop his archers, so he is not in the danger of losing them to skirms. That's no longer the case here. So if Hera ever needs to fight here, the skirms would stomp him. And it looks like Liereyy might spot those archers and spears coming back home. Looks like Hera's gonna get away with that though. So Castle Age on the way for Liereyy here. And that changes things quite dramatically, because I would say in this case, Knights and Elite Skirms should be the idea for Liereyy. Initially, the plan for Hera could have been that he goes for Crossbowman by beating his opponent to Castle Age. Forward Siege Workshop into Pike and Siege would have worked pretty nicely. Bit of harassment coming in here on Hera's gold mine. He isn't going to lose any wills, but he's gonna have some efficiency decrease. You see 76% versus 64% worker efficiency. That's something that's worth monitoring. Scale botting coming in just now for Liereyy, and he is going for the second stable over here. Decider game. So Hera has to make something happen. He's going to decide by going for a stable, and that's something that Liereyy is gonna see. That is a bit of a problem for Hera, because if it was here, for example, Hera wouldn't actually let his opponent know that, hey, I'm going for a stable. Maybe he miscalculated the placement, I'm not 100% sure. But one thing that we have to consider is that Liereyy knows its knights coming his way. Still, Hera's knights are sort of missing quite a lot of upgrades. He's gonna have to invest into bloodlines. For now, he just needs to use it as a unit that kills skirmishers. But soon, there's gonna be double stable knights from Liereyy over here. And I wonder if these vills are actually going forward, or they're just gonna TC here. That's also an option. Liereyy going for chain botting, no elite skirm over here. And indeed, that's a second TC. For Liereyy, Crossbowman on the other hand coming in here for Hera. For now, he's just gonna turtle down and wait until he has a couple of knights out, but it looks like it's gonna be scouts. Because one thing Hera doesn't really have a lot of is gold. And because of that, he's probably forced to make scouts instead of knights over here to deal with these skirmishers. Luckily for him, Liereyy retreats, and it looks like Hera even cancelled the scout. I like that. Because once this retreat actually happened, it's better to have knights than scouts, so you don't really want to invest into a scout at this point. Monastery coming in here for Hera. He is expecting the Night Spray from his opponent, as now the overchops have been fixed. Liereyy is playing with a second Town Center though, as we're gonna have an increasing amount of Knights over here. I think the big problem here for Hera is that he could just get outboomed if he's not playing aggressively. I did mention that Franks are probably gonna like the late game a lot more than Japanese will. So Japanese player has to be pretty aggressive here, as Hera is now moving out with the crossbows. This might be the moment of truth. If he pulls the villagers, makes a siege workshop here, starts assaulting that TC, then there is definitely a good shot for Hera at coming back into this one, because currently he is in a bit of a precarious position. Liereyy is ahead by like 3.5 wheels because of the villager kills before, but you also have to consider that Lierey's got heavy plow and boso, whereas for Hera it's only double bit axe. And that's pretty disappointing eco-wise. So, for now, it looks like Hera's just gonna look around with his knights, see what his opponent is up to, as he's moving in with the crossbows, big force coming in. I think we're in for a big clash. As I said, behind this one, Hera is falling behind economically, and in general, the problem that he's facing is that in late game, Franks are just better than Japanese are. As now the crossbows are here. There is the forward villager for forward siege workshop. Hera needs to make it count. He's got his window. He definitely has it. Especially with a couple of monks as well. Crossbow and monk could work very nicely against this knights plus couple of scouts type composition. Because right now Liereyy is waiting with the scouts to pick off monks. And this was an interesting moment in the game. Neither of the players saw the other making a siege workshop, yet they dropped it in the exact same moment. It was still probably from Liereyy, it was a reaction to seeing the crossbows arrive, as he's gonna bring in the knights now. Two monks are here, over here, as we got the heals as well for Hera, and he's got some nice choke points as well, so not gonna lie, this is probably a slightly better place to fight for Hera than it is for Liereyy. Now the question is, can he actually edge out the victory here though, because guess what? Massing knights is slightly easier than massing crossbows. You need a huge group of crossbows to be very effective, and for knights you can actually get away with much smaller groups, as you're seeing right now with even numbers, the knights just stomping those crossbows, and this is where things are getting really hard. Hera's gonna have to mix in some pikemen like ASAP. He's going for monasteries, but considering that he's falling behind in economically, and he's losing map control, he's gonna have lack of mobility if he goes for pikemen or monks. And you also have to consider that if he goes for pikemen, Liereyy can go for throwing axemen. We are seeing why I said that I don't think that Japanese is an amazing civilization here for Serengeti. And I firmly believe that this wasn't the original plan for Hera, but he had to react to whatever happened in the previous games. It probably would have been much better to have Mayans for this game, for example, but first Hera had to win the previous game, so I don't blame him for picking the better civilization out here, but now we see why Japanese can be problematic versus Franks here. So, now if we look at how things are rolling, it looks like Liereyy is going to switch gears and turn on the offensive. We're going to have defensive siege workshop up for Hera, as he's massing quite a few monks here. The main problem that Hera is facing is that the monks are not going to be able to chase down the knights. Liereyy can always just gallop to the right, try to bash his way through here, then go back to the left, try to get in there. So, really, mobility is a massive concern right now for our blue player over here. Mangonel is now coming in, and I don't think there is redemption just yet for Hera, which means that the Mangonel could easily take down the monks here. Currently, there is no answer from Hera to the Mangonel. He could maybe make 1 or 2 knights to snipe that Mangonel, but that's not something that we're seeing right now. Instead, there is the pikeman switch, but if Liereyy sees the pikeman, he can just go for throwing axemen. That's the beauty of Franks. One of the best thing, or one of the things that makes Franks one of the best Arabia and open map civilizations is that they have one of the smoothest answers to the pikeman switch. No other civilization has an easy transition to a unit that deals with pikemen in Castle Age. No other. Franks do. They have cheap castles, throwing X-Men doesn't need a huge amount of upgrades either, and the attack upgrades you had on your knights before also benefit them. And look at that. Oh, that's so unlucky for Liereyy. He actually deleted 2 knights to avoid conversion. The third one gets converted. That's actually very, very unlucky for Liereyy. So, Liereyy is not mining stone though, indeed, and that is going to make life a little harder. It looks like he wants to battle the elite skirm, or battle the pikemen with elite skirms. Not necessarily something I like, as Hera tries to dive in, snipe the mangonel, ends up sniping the mangonel, and he'll probably finish off the monk as well. Nope, the monk is going to survive. Hera ends up trading a knight to a mangonel, which is still fairly cost efficient, I would say. Now, one good thing about elite skirms here compared to throwing axemen is that they also deal with crossbows. So, against the pikeman crossbow army of Hera, knights and elite skirms works very nicely. If Hera goes very heavy on pikemen, then suddenly, oh, big mangonel shot down here for Liereyy, another one coming in. Tried to go for the lead trick, but that didn't work. Still ends up pretty much being a 1-for-1 trade. And now this is starting to be scary, because one thing we shouldn't underestimate is the power of redemption monks. And in general, the power of monks. Oh my goodness, though, Liereyy gets a massive delete trick over there, retaliating for a previous game where he just lost all his crossbows to a demo. What a fight this is! Hera was able to get a massive amount of conversions. On the other hand, Liereyy gets an enormous shot, and I feel like the two armies just mutually annihilated each other. Because that kind of feels like it's the case. Just mutual annihilation. Both sides losing significant numbers, but maybe Hera is the one getting out of this one. Is Hera gonna swing this back? If it's actually Hera swinging it back like this, then it's gonna be one of the biggest comebacks I've seen in a long time. Because he was definitely in a very rough spot in this game, but the fight he took here with the monks was way better than anyone could have anticipated. And if you consider the fact that Liereyy sort of tried attacking downhills, Liereyy didn't have a bad army, he had like 25 knights there. But there were so many monks for Hera, like, I think there were more of them. Now it's only 7, but I think there was like at least 8 or 9. And now, Liereyy doesn't have gold income. He is struggling with wood income, and a castle coming up in the face of his base completely changes the entire thing. Hera is also super heavy on stone, so this is not the only castle that we're going to see Liereyy forced to go for a mass migration, and if you look at the villager counts, it is suddenly evening out. What a game this is! And now Hera is in firm control. What a comeback this would be. And I have to say that this will be one of the most entertaining sets I've seen in a long time. A couple of samurai join the party, because they know that Liereyy only has skirms. And if Liereyy only has skirms, then it's gonna be samurai as Hera is preparing to castle drop this wood line over here. Because he knows that Liereyy is struggling for wood. Liereyy has nowhere to go. Liereyy is absolutely nowhere to go. Some light cav coming in here to deal with the monks most likely, as Hera will try to body block those light cav over there. Light cav jumping on the monks. There is one conversion, 2 conversions though. That also worked really well for Hera. And look at this. Lierey's base is just absolutely shredded. Now crossbows are moving into his base. Hera takes over in villager count. He was 1 TC versus 2 for the majority of the game. But Liereyy has nowhere to go. And that is a full comeback over here. That is a massive, massive comeback over here. And I think, as I said, Liereyy had the better civ in my opinion. And given that, and the fact how Hera was able to take one very good fight, it was all about one good fight that won him the game. On the other hand, it was one bad fight that lost Liereyy the game, because sure enough, he got a very good mangonel shot on crossbows, and that enormous mangonel shot is overshadowed by the followings. Hera was able to convert something like 6-7 knights, and that was insanely impactful, as the crossbows just keep marching around now and just picking off villager after villager. Lierey's vill count is technically still relatively high, but I mean, He's running around the base wandering for food lines. Hera, on the other hand, has 6 on food. I think at this point, Hera needs to sort of, as weird as it sounds, stand down and just settle things. The other thing that Hera should do is convert these buildings, by the way. He's got Redemption Monks. Or at least, I assume he has Redemption Monks. If not, then he could get Redemption and just convert these buildings. It would be such a cost-efficient way of dealing with them. Battering Ram also works to take them down, but imagine if you could convert 3 ranges here. That would be very, very helpful. Lear would probably lead them anyways, but that would basically mean that Lear needs to lead a bunch of production buildings here. So now I think Hera has done enough damage to just make sure that he has taken the advantage or taken the lead back. And that means that he needs to settle down and fix his eco. Because his eco is an absolute mess after this double castle drop. Looks like we're gonna have some light caps coming in here to get a raid in. And they are doing quite decent work raiding. So far, Hera has killed 36 villagers from his opponent. 6 is the death tally, courtesy of Liereyy, as there is going to be a couple of crossbows coming in here to help out the villas. Hera is losing quite a few villas here, and that's not something that should be overlooked, as he's down to pretty much the same villager count as his opponent is. More battering rams on the way for Hera, and he's probably going to try and point rush this TC down with the crossbowmen, with the monks. And if that TC goes down, I don't think that there is anywhere to go for Liereyy. It would be great for Hera if he had ballistics, because it would help immensely when it comes to chasing down those villagers that are just fleeing. But currently, that feels like a distant dream. Right now, Hera, expanding his base as well, now is up to 2 TCs. And he's also mining Lierey's gold here. Hera's also buying stone. There is a 3rd castle coming in. I think that Hera realized that he can't actually take this TC down because the skirms prevent the crossbows from killing the villas that would be destroying the rams. So I don't think that Hera can really take this TC down just yet. So we might see a castle drop there, but nope, Hera's a different idea. Hera actually sends the castle drop on the south, pursuing those villagers that are escaping. Meanwhile, he's gonna take a pretty inefficient fight here though. He is going to lose quite a few crossbowmen to elite skirms. Gets a couple of elite skirms converted just so that he has less to deal with. And Hera is not joking around. He's gonna drop a castle in Lierey's face. What a chaotic game this is. Hera now taking over with the villager count and has a firm lead. I feel like Liereyy is very close to tapping out, because now these crossbowmen will be hitting his wood line, even though it's without ballistics. They will actually cause some casualties. Stable is going down. And now the light cav is trying to jump on the monks. Nice micro from Hera to pick off the light cav, and you see that villager riot chasing monks was the last straw here for Liereyy. What a comeback it is from Hera. Look at this, by the way. Liereyy takes one game and then Hera in 2, Liereyy in 2, Hera in 2. So it looks like the series continued. Hera, this was definitely a comeback victory. One great fight that probably saved the game for him, because before that it wasn't looking amazing. But this set was definitely one of the closest finals for quite a while. Very, very competitive set between these two. And also a lot of super entertaining games. Liereyy takes the loss here, and Hera is the champion of Collection Cup over here. Congrats to Hera. I'm just gonna add the score here as well. And with that, Collection Cup ends. Overall, the event was, I think, a very good success. Once again, shout out to Locoser, the host of this tournament, for putting this together. It was a very, very good tournament, as it is. A lot of upsets, a lot of surprising players advancing, quite a lot of entertaining games. So there's a lot to love about this tournament. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me today. And yeah, I was Lida, and this was the Collection Cup Grand Finals.